The following is brought to you by the Social Suplex Podcast Network.
What's up, everybody? This is Young Lion King Carl Fredericks, and you're listening to Keepin It Strong Style.
Yo, this is Rich Latta from One Nation Radio. This is brought to you by the Social Suplex Podcast Network. We present to you the Ace of Podcasts, Keepin It Strong Style. Let's go. It's the Ace of Podcasts, Keepin It Strong Style. Covering New Japan, they ready to hold it down. Jeremy Donovan and the young boy Josh. Come and hit a job out and bury all the frauds. From the Tokyo Dome over to the G1. Social Suplex is the network where we can get it done. I'ma chill and let them have it, cause this is just an intro. Keeping the strong style, 6 stars from the get-go, boy. Yeah, from Tampa Bay to the Tokyo Dome, this is Keeping It Strong Style with your hosts, Jeremy Donovan and the young boy Joshua Smith. And thank you for listening.
Welcome to Keeping It Strong Style, the Ace of Podcasts on the Social Suplex Podcast Network. Jeremy Donovan here with the young boy Josh Smith. On today's show, we'll be discussing Wrestle Grand Slam, Summer Struggle, Resurgence, Kizuna Road, your listener questions, and covering all of this news in the world of New Japan Pro Wrestling. You can support our show by subscribing to the Social Suplex Podcast Network or to Keeping It Strong Style on the podcast app of your choice and leaving a rating and review. You can also get all the podcasts and columns over at socialsuplex.com. Check out our Pro Wrestling Tees store, prowrestlingtees.com/socialsuplex. That's where you can get your official Keeping It Strong Style t-shirt. If you enjoy this podcast, please consider making a one-time or monthly donation by visiting socialsuplex.com/donate and click on the donate button under the Keeping It Strong Style logo. This week's episode is brought to you by the NJPW EXT, the only browser extension for NJPWWorld.com, with features like dark mode, improved translations and layouts, custom and shared playlists, synchronized viewing parties, and much, much more. It takes NJPW World to the next level. You can visit njpwext.us today for details. Young boy, how you doing, man?
It is truly the end of an era.
Explain to the people why it's the end of the era.
Well, you're starting the show off with the 10-bell gong salute, right?
we should, yeah.
Need to take a moment of silence because I have officially chopped off almost all my hair. I don't even know what you'd call it. Like, it was beyond mullet. Like, it was just like, I mean, it was like down to like the middle of my back pretty much, went straight.
I mean, you had the Suji hair rocking, man.
My hair is way longer than Suji by the time I cut it. Like, I'm probably like, dude, well, I don't know. At first I was like, man, I got all this hair, I'm going to cut it off. Maybe I'll just like donate it, that'd be like a good thing, but then like someone told me, they were like, don't sell, or like, don't give it to Locks of Love, which is who I was going to give it to. And they're like, because they sell it. And I was like, what? So I went online and one site was like, they definitely don't sell it. And then another site was like, they 1000% sell that shit, for like huge, like upmarks for like donated hair. And I was like, I don't know, this all sounds sketchy. And then like, there's tons of alternatives. And then I try to like look into the alternatives and I got like overwhelmed. So now I've just got like 12 inches of like cut hair, just like chilling here in the apartment. Like, I don't really know what to do with it, but, yeah, man, they said it was over for me. They said, that I was disgruntled and scraggly and a ragamuffin, but, handsome Joshua Smith is back.
Is this a return to the gentleman Josh Smith gimmick?
Yeah, gentleman Joshua Smith. Yeah, because, I mean, that's what really happened was I got the call, and they told me I was graduating and was no longer going to be a young boy, and, that I needed to change my look. That's the real reason I cut my hair, so, get ready for a run on top. You know what I'm saying, brother?
So this is the official drop of the young boy gimmick, or what's going on here?
No, I'll always be the young boy. It's kind of like ace status. Like, he's not still the ace, but he'll always be the ace. I'm like, that's the status with me and the young boy, basically.
And, maybe with the hair, maybe some of the young boy fans out there, maybe they could buy the hair from you.
Oh, if you guys want to buy, I'll tell you what. We have a lot of hair. If you guys want to buy my hair, I will donate that to cancer for children, or whatever it is. Like I don't say that like, trying to sound like a jerk. I actually don't know which disease is the one or which charity, but we'll research. We will give all the proceeds to XYZ charity if you guys want to purchase a portion or all of my hair.
Yeah, maybe
nobody's gonna do this. But if anybody wants my hair, and you're willing to pay me, the right amount, then and it's not for me. Again, we will give this to charity. I'm down for that.
We should do set up an auction, see who get to the highest bidder.
We can make young boy like little figurines out of my hair and sell those for charity.
Oh man. Yeah, man. We'll see. We'll see
We'll
if any
figure it out.
It's something, I gotta say, I usually, pretty happy with our listeners, love our listeners, but they let us down this last week, man, in the Social Suplex Fantasy Draft. The votes were tallied at the end of the day. 8-Bit Suplex skyrocketed to the top. First place took the championship there.
I mean, there's been a lot of controversy in this country about elections and votes and things like that. I don't want to add any sort of, controversy, but I mean, I just feel like I'd be doing us a disservice if I didn't mention that there's no way to tell who voted or how many times for each one of the candidates. Like, it was an honor system. So, I'm hoping, that this was all on the up and up, but I feel like we needed to stop the steal and do an audit and
stop the count,
figure out, what happened, because it's weird. Like 2 a.m. in the morning, like 300, votes for 8-Bit Suplex just like dropped into the ballot box. No accounting for who handled them or when. Like, I don't know what happened there. I mean, if we had ended this election at the proper time, Keepin It Strong Style was clearly the winner here.
Yeah, I mean, we were in first place for, I would say, majority of the voting period.
Listen, it doesn't matter. Our card is like the shit. So, I mean, I don't really care. Congratulations to 8-Bit Suplex. Congratulations to Josh. Congratulations, Sandy, if you're still part of the show and the network. Congratulations to Dan, although he wasn't involved. I feel like he's part of that show at this point and just needs to be acknowledged. I acknowledge him as the tribal chief of 8-Bit Suplex.
Oh, man. But yeah, all fun and games there. Yeah, shout out to Josh, number 2, 8-Bit Suplex, for winning the poll this year in the draft. Looking forward to next year's draft already. But, man, we got a lot of news to talk about here in the world of New Japan Pro Wrestling, and I think we should start out with some of the big stuff.
I cannot wait.
Yeah, I think we should start with some of the big stuff before we talked about Kizuna Road and New Japan Strong. So first thing, Wrestle Grand Slam. So last week it was announced that Shingo Takagi will be making his first defense of the IWGP World Heavyweight Championship against Kota Ibushi in the main event of Wrestle Grand Slam in Tokyo Dome on Sunday, July 25th. So this is the new announced date, Sunday, July 25th. We know the show was originally scheduled for May 29, was postponed due to the state of emergency being declared in Tokyo due to the pandemic. And also the Wrestle Grand Slam was scheduled for Yokohama Stadium on May 15th. That show has been canceled altogether. The company said in a statement that it had scheduling conflicts at Yokohama Stadium, which made rescheduling the show in the future near impossible. So ticket holders for that event will be getting a refund. So instead, New Japan will be running 2 more Wrestle Grand Slam shows in September in the MetLife Dome in Saitama on Saturday, September 4th, and Sunday, September 5th. Now, it's not the first time New Japan's tried to run this venue. In 2014, they experienced this. They moved the G1 finals from Sumo Hall, feeling like they were turning away too many people for the finals for one of the biggest shows, and they moved it to the baseball stadium, drew 18,000 fans, but the number was affected due to a monsoon that took place the day of the event, and it was not considered a success, so they moved it back to Sumo Hall in 2015. So, Youngbo, what are your thoughts here? 3 Wrestle Grand Slam shows. I guess first, what are your thoughts on Shingo Ibushi main event for July 25th?
Yeah, absolutely. Well, congratulations to you, the listeners, and those of you who wrote in, because it seemed like many of you picked up what they were putting down when they mentioned that, Ibushi and Shingo Takagi was just too big a match for, your Cork and Halls or what have you, and that it need to be on a big stage. And, many of you surmised that was probably going to be the Tokyo Dome, and, you seem to be correct here, which is great. I'm all for this. My only real gripe, and it's real minor, I don't like when the events are like kind of like split up month to month, but kind of carry the same branding and name.
Right, yeah.
It's just a nitpicky thing because it's like we have the road twos, and then we have to build to those particular shows, and then the big tours, the big shows in between, and it's weird when you have like July Wrestle Grand Slam. And then all the way in September, Wrestle Grand Slam again. And I'm guessing that's probably going to be like after the Olympics. So that's probably part of it. I don't know how much New Japan's going to actually run during the Olympics. That's something we still aren't even really totally sure on. But other than that, this is great. I mean, Shingo and Kota Ibushi, that's a match that we've been wanting to see for a while. On the big stage with the title on the line. They've been teasing it since the early part of this year. We're finally getting it in the Tokyo Dome. That's awesome. And that's something that's really big for both of these guys because it's two New Japan established stars that originated outside of the Nogi Dojo, like we've mentioned before. But I mean, not just the fact that they're both former champions at this point, or, current champion and former champion. And not just the fact that they're headlining a show against each other, but they're headlining a Tokyo Dome show. And, I mean, we don't know all the provisions and capacities and things like that just yet, but that still is a huge honor just to even headline that show in general. And then on top of it, like, the fact that it's these two guys that they've, like, put their faith and trust to do that. You know what I mean?
Right.
I think it's just going to be real interesting because, I mean, obviously Shingo's never headlined a Tokyo Dome before. Ibushi has. But if we're really being honest with ourselves, they've headlined him the first year. It was under the auspices that it was a double gold dash,
Right, yeah.
And then the second year, it wasn't a double gold dash, but it was sort of like he was tied to Jay White. He was tied to Naito.
I mean, he was a geek in that scenario. Like,
right, exactly. And yeah, he's coming into this as the challenger, but he is the more established guy when it comes to big match, big dome scenarios, where I don't think you could totally say that about his previous times headlining the dome. So the fact that they kind of trust him says something. The fact that they've, established Shingo here says something. And, that they trust these guys to go out there, put on a hell of a show and draw, that's a huge statement. And I think that's a really that's like one of the most positive things I've heard from this company all year, if I'm being frank.
Now, what do you think about the criticism coming from guys like Dave Meltzer saying that Ibushi and Shingo is not a Tokyo Dome main event?
Well, it is, That's the thing, it is. He could be right, and there could be people who, have that opinion, and I think we're looking at the same thing, but having two different viewpoints or ways of looking at it. They're seeing it and saying these guys aren't established at that level, so they shouldn't be the ones doing it because it's not going to draw.
Right.
And maybe there are some hard numbers that back that up. But on my end, I'm thinking like, well, if the capacity, and I'm not making this as an excuse, I think that this could draw with or without, the capacity limits. But even if, let's say the capacity limits are in place, then why wouldn't you run with two of your more popular guys? I mean, in this sort of instance, it makes sense to potentially try that out. But even if, like, let's say if they're allowed to do like 11, 12,000, something like that, something similar to what they did back in January, I have no reason to think that these guys aren't, headliners. I mean, how are they going to headline unless you put them to the test,
Right. You got to elevate new talent. You have to give them that spot to kind of sink or swim, like you mentioned. Ibushi does have some dome main events under his belt, but not like a true, like, this is about him. And so also it's a big story, him trying to regain the world heavyweight title, losing it very shortly after the new title was presented here. And I think we have seen in the past, great ticket sales with Ibushi in main events, in Shingo in main events. And so with a limited capacity, like you said, I mean, I'm seeing news at Olympics, they might be allowing up to 10,000 people in arenas for Olympic Games. And it sounds like it might be back up to 5,000 for everything else. So who knows, maybe between 5,000, 10,000 seats there for Tokyo Dome. I feel like with this main event, that's a good start. And then filling out the card with some other big matches, they should be able to, hit whatever their capacity number is.
I mean, a couple things. So, I mean, in the past, literally, there have been guys that have been given the task to headline the Dome when obviously it was like their first time. Just in the recent past, let's say in the last, 15 years. I mean, Kenny Omega, Tetsuya Naito, Shinsuke Nakamura, Hiroshi Tanahashi, who all probably headlined to disappointing numbers initially. And then, later on had immeasurable success, obviously. So, I mean, in almost all those scenarios, though, they had an A side to kind of carry them. So, I mean, that's kind of your argument there. In this situation, that is sort of what you have. You have an established headliner in Kota Ibushi. Is he the top guy in the company? No, but he's in that top 4, top 5. And then Shingo is the guy that they're kind of poising to, step up to that level. I think that this is a pretty smart, fun, exciting, and calculated main event. If you kind of consider the alternatives, what we were probably going to get previously, which was like, say, Okada Ospreay, which don't get me wrong, I'm a big fan of Okada and Ospreay. I've seen all of their matches against one another. I think it's a great series, but to some degree, I'm more excited about this match than I was going to be for Okada Ospreay because I already knew what to expect with that series. I kind of knew who the winner was going to be. For me, it was like a foregone conclusion already. I mean, I could have been wrong, but still. I don't know. I just didn't get the juices flowing. Like, that seemed almost like something that, since we'd already seen it in the Dome earlier in the year, it shouldn't even been headlining. This seems like to me, the preferable, option and opportunity. I don't know.
Yeah, it seems very exciting. It's a lot of things that people talk about during the Evil title run. It's something new, something fresh, something different. And yeah, with Shingo as champ, it is new and fresh and different. But the difference here is we're actually getting great main events or some intriguing matchups that you can do, matches that can actually draw and sell. And I think we've only seen Ibushi and Shingo, I believe, we're only wrestled one time. That was in the G1.
In the G1, yeah.
So very fresh matchup, and like you mentioned, it's a match that can go either way. We know traditionally, first-time champions usually don't have long title reigns. We've seen first-time champions drop the title in their first defense, so there is a precedent that Shingo could lose. I mean, we will also see champions get at least one successful defense off, and so Shingo could beat Ibushi. We don't know, what direction they're going to go, what story they're trying to tell. Obviously, whoever the champion is, they have a tough schedule with a lot of big shows coming up this summer. But I think either guy, you can go forward with Shingo, get some fresh new main events, or you can go back to Ibushi and kind of establish him as your top guy. And I think there's still some fresh matches you can do with Ibushi on top.
Well, not only that, you have to kind of consider, once this match is over, we probably have those 2 big Wrestle Grand Slam shows in September, like they mentioned, and then I'm supposing that we're going right into the G1 after that. That doesn't leave a lot of time until Wrestle Kingdom again. So there's a good likelihood that whoever wins this particular match is most likely going to the Dome as the champion. And so I think that's kind of how you need to be looking at it. In most cases, I would say Shingo probably easily beats Ibushi. But like you mentioned, transitional titles for the first title run are not uncommon. And then when you kind of put the time constraints on it with the schedule, and you kind of look at who could, each one of these 2 guys headline the Dome against, provided that, they're going to the Dome. And you know, who's to say that whoever wins doesn't drop the belt at the next big event as well? So I mean, there's some variables there, but that's kind of how I'm looking at it.
Yeah, I mean, I think there are guys. I mean, obviously there's a story there with Shingo and Okada. There's a story for Okada and Ibushi. We don't know when Ospreay is going to come back in. Obviously Naito. I think a Naito Shingo, whether it's for Wrestle Kingdom or they want to pull that out for the other dome shows in the MetLife Dome. I think there's some big matches that they can pull out.
Yeah, I mean, there's other names too that like Jeff Cobb, you know, Suzuki, you know,
I think
Jay White.
Kenta's a guy you can pull in a title match.
Yeah, we're kind of this particular title match is a pretty important one, and I think it opens up a lot of different avenues for potential title challengers for the remainder of the year.
Yeah, my only one concern about this July 25th Tokyo Dome is kind of getting smack dab in the middle of the Summer Struggle Tour. So we do have two big Summer Struggle shows in Sapporo, July 10th and 11th. And then we do have Summer Struggle in Osaka on July 22nd and 23rd, which leads into the Tokyo Dome show on July 25th. And then after that, there's just still more Summer Struggle shows happening. So, there's Summer Struggle in Nagoya the day before the Dome, July 24th.
Well, I mean, yeah, that doesn't sound anything unlike what we've already kind of been experiencing this year with, you know, the melding of different big shows and tours, sort of like what I alluded to earlier. So, I mean, as they're not doing a Jingu Stadium show this year, obviously, with that schedule. So I'm not too worried about it. I think I don't know, for my brain, it's just easier to keep things in track when I'm like, August is, you know, G1 and like October is King of Pro Wrestling, which like, I don't even know if they're ever bringing King of Pro Wrestling back.
Right. Yeah.
You know, that sort of thing. Like, that's kind of how I keep my memory. So like when I'm like, when it gets to that whole like Hino Kuni, you know, where's Hino Kuni happen? What, you know, what is this? What's that? Like that, it just gets weird when the tours get like kind of switched up and the big, you know, shows and everything.
Yeah. I guess for me, I'm just kind of curious to see what's going to kind of be the main events in some of these Summer Struggle shows. We have a couple of them we'll talk about in a second. And then what's going to fill out, based off of that, what's going to fill out the rest of this July 25th Tokyo Dome.
Yeah. Well, I heard the Bucks are working it. Kenny and the Bucks are coming to challenge for the Never Six Mans.
That would be pretty fire. Elite versus Goto Ishii and Goto. And Yoshihashi.
That probably would be incredible, actually. I mean, think about the history with all those guys.
Oh, yeah. Main event, give them 30 minutes. Oh, man. But let's talk about Summer Struggle here. So we do have two of the main events for Summer Struggle in Sapporo, July 10th and July 11th. On July 10th, El Desperado will be defending the IWGP Junior Heavyweight title against Taiji Ishimori. This will be Desperado's second Junior Championship defense. Also, he defended against Yo for the first defense at Dominion. And then on July 11th, the main event will be the IWGP Tag Team titles on the line as Dangerous Tekkers defend against Naito and Sonata. And we did have a question here from Jimenez. Any predictions on the Summer Struggle matches in Sapporo? I say Dangerous Tekkers retain because Hokkaido loves Taichi. As for the Junior Heavyweight title match, I don't know.
Well, I mean, I guess I'll just throw the quick answers out there for now. I mean, this could change between now and the time that we actually do our official preview, but my quick trigger responses would be Desperado and Dangerous Tekkers. Actually, you know what? I'll take that back. I think Naito and Sonata might win this.
Yeah, I do.
Yeah.
I do think there's a chance for a Naito Sonata run, especially since both of them really haven't been doing anything unless they're going to be in big singles roles for the rest of the summer. And you could always do a series of these guys, have them win the belts, and then Dangerous Tekkers get a rematch for some of these bigger shows coming up.
They could do the old WWE thing, put the titles on Naito and Sonata, and then have them feud with each other.
The Shawn Michaels, John Cena build.
Oh man, I mean, you can name so many people by, yeah. I think they're doing that in Noah actually with Congo, but I don't know.
Yeah, so
I think it's Congo. I don't know.
What do you think overall for Sapporo, these two main events here?
It tells me that these are smaller shows, in my opinion. But maybe they're I don't know. Maybe that's me being too dismissive. I don't know. The shows where they headlined with the tag titles earlier, this past month or whatever.
Yeah, against Dangerous Tickers against God.
Yeah, those shows seem to do okay. But I don't know. I mean, we're still recovering from this pandemic. It's hard to kind of know, when they run those Cork and Hall, Road 2 shows, they just don't seem to do so hot with the tickets. I mean, it's no secret that ticket sales are extremely down and everything like that. But sometimes with these bigger shows, like more traditionally, I think we would expect to see maybe say like both of these titles defended on one show of this sort of caliber on Summer Struggle, and that would be like your traditional sort of C-level show, in the middle of the year. But at this point, we're kind of running on a skeleton crew. They've got less people available. They're trying to stretch themselves thin to do the best they can. And I think that they're doing a pretty good job of at least re-educating the expectations of the audience. And, to some degree it's working for these kinds of level shows. But, I don't know. I mean, for me, it's just, it's the same situation we've complained about in the past where it's a lot of riffraff on the bottom, a lot of, multi-man matches, which is fine. We get that throughout the year. But then it's like you think you're done with it for the bigger level shows, and then you get even more.
Right. It's overkill.
It's overkill. And then you get the one meaningful match with stakes. So,
yeah, I think they're two solid main events here. Clearly with these kind of main eventing, like you mentioned, I do think we are going to probably see a ton of multi-man stuff on the undercards, and also these two matches kind of being the highlights there. And also, I think they're trying to save some big stuff, obviously, for some of these dome shows they have coming up, and potentially be seeing rematches in the Tokyo Dome, maybe in the MetLife Dome, depending on the results of these matches.
Yeah, I guess that would make sense too. That's not a bad call.
So next big thing we got to talk about is NJPW Resurgence. So this was announced, an event announced for August that's going to be held in front of fans in Los Angeles. New Japan Resurgence will take place on Saturday, August 14th at the Torch at LA Coliseum, a new concert venue set to open this summer. IWGP US Champ Jon Moxley among the talent advertised for this show. This will mark the first ticketed NJPW event in the U.S. since the New Beginning in USA Tour event in Georgia on February 1st, 2020. Tickets go on sale on Wednesday, June 30th, and will be priced at $39, $59, $79, $99, $199, and $299. Fans will be asked to wear a mask when not eating or drinking. The venue's website lists attendance capacity for the Torch at 5,000 with the possibility to expand to 10,000. Fight TV and NJPW will broadcast the event live. Fight has been announced as the exclusive English commentary broadcast, while NJPW World will offer Japanese commentary. We don't have a full card yet, but they did announce some talent in their little promo video. So we have the IWGP US Champ Jon Moxley, the never openweight champ Jay White, the strong openweight champ Tom Lawler, the return of the Good Brothers to New Japan, Doc Gallows and Carl Anderson. We have Finjuice, Shota Umino is going to be on the show, Ren Narita, Carl Fredericks, Clark Connors, Alex Coughlin, Hikuleo, Fred Rosser, Leo Rush, Brody King, Dirty Daddy, TJP, and JR Kratos. So, young boy, what do you think about the Resurgence?
Yeah, pretty exciting. I think this probably answers some of the questions we've been getting from the listeners about U.S. expansion and, future plans and everything like that. At this point, I mean, there's definitely for me some like little red flags as to how I'm going to perceive this event, because it's no secret in the past New Japan, especially this US division, has had trouble properly like marketing, properly advertising and everything like that. So I mean, the first part of it is like there's no real TV for this because they don't have a national TV deal like they had with Access. It is, pretty cool that they're doing it simulcast on Fight TV and New Japan World at the same time. I'm wondering who the English broadcast team is going to be, though, as opposed to like Kevin Kelly and everything, unless they're going to bring him in to do it for Fight TV, but that seems unlikely.
I think they will. I think like Fight TV it's not as overbearing as Access TV was, and obviously Access had their specific commentators for the show that ran on Access TV. I feel like for Fight TV, they're gonna take it as is. I mean, we saw what was that? Was it Royal Quest that was like exclusive to Fight TV first, and they used the normal English commentary team.
Did they? For some reason, I remember that being like a totally different team.
Maybe it was. I could have swore that Kevin Kelly.
I could be wrong. I don't remember. Like, this is just the way that my brain has, fossilized it in my mind.
Yeah. Yeah, I think that they'll have Kevin Kelly and whoever else. We've seen several. It could be Kozlov, but we'll see who fills in that second seat there.
Yeah. The other part too is like this this language surrounding like we're at 5,000, but we could open up to 10,000. I don't know. That doesn't like just the optics of it. That doesn't give me a lot of confidence necessarily. And I'm not saying that they should have gone one way or the other. I'm not saying limit themselves to 5,000 or strictly like go full guns blazing and say 10,000. I could see why they would say it this way, but I'm just thinking like, I don't know. In my opinion, I thought Wrestle Dynasty in New York City, I don't know if it would have done as well as the previous, Supercard of Honor show or whatever it was that the G1 Supercard.
Yeah.
But I felt like that one was going to do really well, and there was buzz about it. Everyone was like wanting to go, everything like that. With this one, it was just announced, and it's got a great lineup, and the ticket prices aren't, crazy or unreasonable. They're in a good market, but I'm just like wondering, with how competitive the wrestling landscape is right now for live attendance and everything being like very like destination event based, and this being all the way out on the West Coast, are they going to be able to draw, plus considering like the state of the perception of the company, they're clearly in the US, they're clearly not as hot as they were a year or two ago. I don't know. I mean, I think this is a right step in the right direction, but I feel like we've been burned a little bit in the past with just sort of like a mismanagement of their live touring here in the States. And, I want to see them be successful. I don't want to see another like G1 opener in Dallas situation, where they're like in over their heads and, there's like all these empty sections and stuff like that.
Right. Yeah. And, the big thing here, like you mentioned, it's going to be, kind of the advertising and pushing the show. And you mentioned, the live events, right now, pretty much every promotion is gearing up for live events and getting fans back in the arenas. Pretty much every promotion is going to be starting up in July. WWE, AEW, MLW, Ring of Honor, Impact, all these North American promotions are welcoming fans back to having big shows. Impact's having Slammiversary, NWA is doing pay-per-view. AEW, they have a big set of shows they're doing. They're doing their own Grand Slam show coming up in September. So you have.
Can they not do anything original? God.
And of course you have All Out Labor Day weekend. They're kind of big traditional pay-per-view. So there's a lot of.
Didn't they just try to rip off the UFC like the other day?
With Wardlow and Hager.
I don't know who it was. I just know that they were trying to have shoot fights. I mean, I don't know, man. I think a lot of this again just comes down to the TV deal. When they had the Long Beach shows initially, and the various different specials that they did here in the States that were live on Access. I know Access wasn't like a premier channel, but that just felt bigger and like was more exciting. I remember like even when we were in Dallas telling people like, yo, I'm going to be at the show covering it. And they're like, oh, where is it available? It's on like national TV. They're like, oh, really? But when it's like, it's on pay-per-view. Oh, so I can just like go to my local pay-per-view provider and like click a button. It's like, no, you gotta download Fight TV app. You gotta set up an account. Like, Fight TV is like only for people that are like
marks.
Realistically wrestling fans. I know they have boxing and MMA and kickboxing stuff, but really it's for wrestling fans. And I don't know. Like for me, why would I pay for it again? Because I've got New Japan World. You know?
That's what I was going to ask you about. How do you? Because I think one of our listeners commented on this too. But yeah, does that feel kind of weird that it's going to be on Fight TV for pay-per-view for English? I'm guessing it'll be up on English later on NJPW World. But if you want to watch it live in English, you have to watch it through Fight TV.
I mean, I don't think that's a bad gimmick. I think it's pretty smart in a certain sense because you've got let's say you have outsider fans, right, who don't want to have New Japan World or whatever, and they want to watch the show, but they want it in English, they might drop the money on Fight TV, and who knows how much it's going to be. I don't know if it might not be $50. It could be, or it could be like a $25 spot, which might not be bad for those who want that convenience. And then, for those who are like, why would I pay more than double just for English commentary when I can pay the 9.99 yen for the month and get the entire, everything they offer plus the show live. So I don't think that's a bad idea because it's in a certain sense kind of a win-win. They're going to draw certain types of fans to subscribe and other types of fans to pay extra.
Yeah, and I think you hit the nail on the head there with the fans that don't want to buy NJPW World, because we've talked to several people who are like, I don't watch New Japan because I don't want to subscribe to NJPW World. If it was easier, if it's on TV somewhere, I would watch it. And, with a name like Jon Moxley on top, it's a big thing. Jon Moxley being able to work a U.S. New Japan show with fans, that's a pretty big deal. And I think John has proved to be a draw. So having Jon Moxley on top of your cards is a good thing. And so I think a lot of, internet fans, Jon Moxley fans, will probably more than likely get the Fight TV than trying to figure out how to work at New Japan World.
Yeah, he's the other two, for your average everyday wrestling fan or your average U.S. New Japan fan, they're going to look at this card top to bottom and be like, you know what? Sure, I'm not getting like the full quote unquote authentic, domestic New Japan guys, but I mean, this is almost all exclusively LA Dojo guys. It's almost all exclusively guys that have worked, that do regularly work over in Japan, or big stars, or guys that are heavily established on New Japan Strong, and they don't feel so much like Ring of Honor outsiders or California indie guys. In a certain sense, this is an authentic New Japan show. It's just an authentic New Japan of America US show.
Right.
But the fact that we're getting Jon Moxley in it, I mean, dude, we were in Dallas and he couldn't even work that show.
He couldn't even show up to the press conference. And now he's headlining a New Japan show in the US, and it's like, okay, sure, you've seen Jon Moxley before, but seeing Jon Moxley on Dynamite is not the same thing as seeing the Death Rider, Right.
And there is a little bit of that kind of gimmick there. And is it the same guy? Yes, but Jon Moxley does feel special and feel very different in New Japan than he does, in AEW, in my opinion. And if he is hypothetically, let's say, defending the U.S. belt, that could be a big deal. Plus, you got Jay White on the show. What if he's defending the Never title?
Right.
And then what if Tom Lawler is defending the Strong title? That's a strong card for those top three if we're getting anything, resembling that.
Right, and then you also have the return of the Good Brothers, Anderson and Gallows, which you get some of that kind of Bullet Club fan base. You can draw some of those, Bullet Club fans who haven't watched in a while, bring them back into the fold. Then you have, top indie names like, Brody King and Chris Dickinson, Leo Rush is announced. So I mean, I know he's going to be retiring after his New Japan dates are done, but it's
the great TJP.
Yeah.
Everybody.
And also, and then Shota Umino, he's been on an excursion in Rev Pro, and it's going to be cool to see him on the show. It'd be cool if there's some kind of Moxley Umino interaction in the show. I'm sure they have to do that in some way.
Yeah, absolutely. So, I mean, it's very exciting. I think there's a couple things to be, a little bit apprehensive or reticent about, but overall, I think this is a good step in the right direction. I'm excited for it. And, I think it's going to draw attention. I don't know how much attention. I don't know if it's going to be the same as like when Kenta faced Jon Moxley on Strong. Hopefully this is much more so. But, I mean, this is I can't really remember. Sure, there have been episodes of like Strong that I've been excited for, but nothing has felt like this in New Japan of America since the G1 Supercard.
Probably, yeah.
I mean, I am worried though that this is the one thing I am worried about is that it kind of comes off. We've seen times where they've had production issues with some of these U.S. shows.
Right, especially with Fight TV. There's been some production issues in the past. Yep,
with Fight TV, and then also in the LA market. I'm thinking specifically of the Super J Cup, not this previous one, but the one prior to that. There were some issues there. So
it was like low level production, like the Osprey Amazing Red match looked like it was shot on like a mini hand cam or something.
The cameras, the lighting, the audio, everything, and the ticket sales when they ran in Long Beach for that show were not anything inspiring. But I don't know what the fans are going to be feeling like, because we kind of talked about like how there's a lot of competition in the marketplace for wrestling just across the country right now, but at the same time New Japan is sort of still has that niche element where it's like a cool thing, plus we talked about who's on the card. If they market it properly, they could get a good travel crowd, fly-in crowd possibly. But who knows how people are feeling after, COVID-19 and after the pandemic. I don't know if people are like, kind of like us, rearing to go and wanting to like get out and get on a plane and hike it up there, or if there's people who are like, not just yet.
Yeah. But I think this will be big for the West Coast market, because there really hasn't been many shows that I know of that have had fans in the West Coast, and also AEW hasn't been in the West Coast, and a lot of their upcoming shows really aren't in that West Coast area. They're kind of running the Northeast. So I think
that's a good point. I didn't think of that. Yeah,
I'm sure there's a ton of West Coast Jon Moxley fans. They want to see him live. They're not going to get to go unless they want to travel to All Out or something. Then
Nevada's not that far, honestly, so that's going to be your closest competition, and we do know SummerSlam's running out there, and I'm sure that's a market that AEW tends to run as well, especially like for big pay-per-views. Mm-hmm. So who knows? But that's kind of the closest thing I can think of. So you're right. I mean, that's going to be a big – they're probably like the first major wrestling show on the West Coast, really.
Right. And then as far as, you mentioned, people might say, oh, this might not be authentic New Japan. Also, I don't think this is the final announced roster. I think, that there's still time to announce, who knows, a Tanahashi or somebody like that.
Right.
Also, there's a lot of big shows. We don't know who's going to be able to come into the States and who they need for the shows during the summer in Japan. So I think that's all up in the air.
Totally agree.
Did have some questions here. So first from Viking Payne says, will you guys be going to Resurgence in LA? And where is Kenta and God? Also, how many Japanese talent do you guys think will come over to the U.S. for this show? I would think this would be the perfect opportunity to get the entire roster vaccinated as well.
That's a great question. First thing, yeah. I mean, I can't say 100,000% definite that I'll be going, but I mean, I guess we can make it known we've applied for our press credentials. So, that would be a big determinant as to our ability to attend.
Right. Yeah. So obviously you have to media opportunities, come through like they did for G1 in Dallas for us, we'll definitely be heading out there. But
I miss Sean.
Yeah, man. Dude, that was the one thing that the Access TV gave us a hookup, man, for Dallas.
Access TV had an incredible team. Like, they really, really did, and fucking Anthem gutted them.
So as of right now, who knows? Yeah, you could be seeing me and the young boy out there in LA for Resurgence.
Let's say good chance maybe.
Yeah.
As far as Kent and God, I mean, again, there's still time they could end up on the show, but there's a good chance that they'll probably be in Japan working, or maybe they have personal time, who knows?
Right, we don't know exactly what their schedule is, but more than likely they're probably gonna be in Japan for whatever is going on there. Also, you still need guys there as well, but again, not finalized. But I'm sure with Good Brothers announced on the card, a God versus Good Brothers, or God and Good Brothers teaming together against somebody, like, I'm sure there's gonna be some kind of like Bullet Club play with Good Brothers on the card.
Next question, he said, are you guys surprised by the amount of crossover from NJPW and Impact? It seems like that relationship is really blooming. And you know what? I got to tell you, I truly, really, really am surprised at the level of crossover because, I mean, when it first initially like kind of started, it was like just Chris Bay showing up with the Impact logo, in the J-Cup. And I felt like people were just way too quick to jump on it and call it like a working relationship. And, I still don't know that I call it a quote unquote working relationship. I feel more comfortable calling what's going on in general across the board with them, AEW specifically, and some of the other companies. I call them talent trades because that seems to be mostly what's going on. But they're not insignificant talent trades. Like, they're happening pretty plentifully and pretty regularly. And it seems to be, pretty beneficial for everyone involved. And it's something I never really kind of expected to see like this, so it's, I'm pleasantly surprised.
Yeah, especially with Impact because of the stories we've heard and just how much New Japan management has hated Impact / TNA with the poor treatment of guys on excursion like Kazuchika Okada. They would send over, Shinsuke Nakamura, and these guys would end up on Explosion or get goofy gimmicks and, not be treated with the respect that they probably should have been treated with. And so, Impact's made a hard plea to let New Japan know, like, hey, Dixie Carter's not here. Jeff Jarrett is not here. Jerry Jarrett's not here. These guys that were in charge, Vince Russo's not here. The guys that were in charge of TNA, they're not here. Like, this is a new team. This is Don Cal, Scott D'Amore. We're running things differently. It's a different captains here. And so finally...
Don Callis is gone.
Well, yeah, he's gone now. So mainly Scott D'Amore. And so, yeah, New Japan's seeing this as a whole new team, and we're actually, doors are finally back open there, and, New Japan's finally forgiven Impact. And, yeah, we're seeing Kojima, Finjuice, ELP on Impact. We're seeing Josh Alexander on Strong. We're seeing the Good Brothers coming to Strong and Resurgence. So we're seeing this kind of back and forth now between New Japan and Impact. And it's very surprising to see, and I'm curious to see how long this keeps going.
One of my favorite things was like in the 80s when the territories obviously still existed, and you could see tons of cards with crossover. I mean, even in WWF, for instance, you look at a Madison Square Garden show, and I mean, you'd see like, I don't know, Buzz Sawyer and Ric Flair and Harley Race and all kinds of guys, that weren't in the company, Dusty Rhodes, those famous Maple Leaf Garden shows where, and the Hawaii shows where the guys from all the different companies could work against one another. And then like in the 90s, I think about like the times in like ECW where you'd see guys stopping through and you'd see like these cool matches with like the Steiner brothers or like Road Warrior Hawk or like Bobby Eaton, Sid Vicious, and it was just really cool when you could get that sort of like crossover with different guys doing things like that. And so it's sort of in this situation, like we had a lot of this in Japan for decades, lots of times where due to different circumstances there was crossover and working agreements and talent trades, and that was awesome. But like it's and also here in the States too. I mean, with New Japan and WWF, WCW, Ring of Honor, TNA, but it's just really nice to sort of kind of see this kind of spreading sort of across the board. And the one thing is I would really like to see crossover back with other domestic Japanese companies, because it's since the Noah split in like 2015 2016, it hasn't really happened again, and I would love for some of that to kind of take place.
Yeah, that would be great. So yeah, some more domestic kind of doors being opened would be cool to see, especially for the junior division. Like the junior division could definitely use some help from like using some either indie or domestic, other promotion guys.
Well, I just kind of laughed because it's funny. Like you listen to like Tama's Island, and he gets so mad at like Kenny and the Bucks. It's like sort of his gimmick, and he's just like, change the world. They ain't changed nothing. Y'all a bunch of marks. You need to open your eyes. But then you look at what's actually happening, and none of this happens if AEW doesn't like become a company.
Right.
Highly unlikely. So it's like in a certain sense they kind of did change things.
Next question here from Hawaiian Punch BV. Who do you want to see the champions defending their titles against on Resurgence?
Oh, that's a great question. I'm not really sure about that yet. It's kind of a hard question. I mean, what are you thinking?
Yeah, it's hard because, like, for me, I would think that the top drawing match would probably be Jon Moxley versus Jay White.
That's what I was thinking too. And I mean, but that's champion versus champion.
Right. So, I mean, you could do champion versus champion non-title, or you could do champ versus champion. You have, if they want to get that U.S. belt back on to New Japan, you could have Jay win the U.S. title, and he has both belts.
Yeah, and that is a situation where Jay White could win the title, and he's one of the few guys I think is the caliber to beat Jon Moxley. But I'll tell you this much: like if they tell me like we're doing a title for title match, Jon Moxley versus Jay White, like my interest in the show goes up like I don't know, 10-fold, 15-fold. Who knows?
Yeah, so it's very hard because other than that, like they're not gonna do Mox versus Jay White. I'm not quite sure who you put Mox. I mean, you can have a good match with anybody. Also, there's some history there with Dirty Daddy Chris Dickinson. I know Brody King's a guy that he wants to wrestle. Also, there's a connection with Shota Umino. There's some options there, but I think the biggest drawing would be with him and Jay White.
Yeah, I totally agree with that. I mean, I was thinking the same thing, kind of looking at the card, and not to disparage any of the talent, it's stacked top to bottom, but in terms of like superstardom in the world of wrestling, the two big names that we have listed are Moxley and Jay White, and I mean, there's no getting around that. And I don't know. I think they could draw a really, really they could draw an incredible house if they had just the two of them. Plus, now that you say this, it does remind me of like when Renee Paquette put out that tweet asking if anyone had any questions for Jon Moxley on her show, and he was like, how's it feel to have a losing record to Jay White?
Yeah. So
maybe that was like a little bit of a little seed being planted there.
A little taste of what's to come.
Yeah, and gave us a little taste.
And then as far as the strong openweight championship, I guess we're assuming that Filthy Tom will be defeating the Alpha Wolf this Friday and will be coming.
I'm not so sure about that.
So yeah, we don't know. So I mean, Carl Fredericks could come in as a champion, or I mean, there's still some time between now and that show. Lawler could have a third defense or fourth defense before Resurgence, so it's not 100% locked that he'll be walking in as a champ.
There's also a chance we get like a Jon Moxley Shooter Umino tag team. That's something that would be a little bit of a novelty, but I think people would like that. And they could maybe do them in like the Good Brothers or something like that. I don't know.
Right.
I'm also kind of wondering about like, I don't know. Yeah. Shota Umino, Ren Narita, what are they going to be doing? How cool would it be if we got Narita and Shooter against each other one-on-one?
That would be dope. Yeah, that'd be awesome.
Yeah, there's a lot of cool things they could do here. So I'm excited. I can't wait to see a card. I feel like maybe I'm getting my hopes up a little bit too high, and I'll be disappointed. But for right now, this is fun.
Yeah. And the one other thing that they could do with Jay White, also they were setting up a never openweight title match with David Finlay. If that match doesn't happen in Japan the next couple of months, they could do the Jay White David Finlay match here.
Yeah, that makes sense too. And that would kind of open up Juice to be eligible to do something. Maybe we get Juice and Filthy Tom.
Right.
Something like that.
And also, there's still a story with Juice and Mox. I think there's another match that can get out of that. I don't know how drawing would be, but I think there's a story there.
I mean, California, Jay White, Juice Robinson. There's history there too. Don't forget.
Yeah. So let's see what next question here. Dom Homie 101. Any thoughts on New Japan Strong running a show in LA with a live crowd? So I think we pretty much just kind of gave our thoughts on this.
Excited for it.
Coming up.
So
show.
excited.
And I'm hoping that this will lead to the weekly Strong tapings having fans as well.
Or whatever format ends up being. Just, running New Japan with a live audience. Like, that sounds awesome.
Yeah. At Conman520 on Twitter, any predictions for Resurgence main event? Kind of have to think it'll be Mox versus Jay White to try and sell a 10,000 seat venue, or maybe they'll bring in someone else from AEW. So we kind of speculated on that already, but yeah, I feel like Mox Jay White it's like the money main event here.
Well, I mean, that was a thought I had, is the idea they could potentially bring someone in from AEW. I don't have a particular name, but I mean, who knows? What if they did like Andrade, someone who like is kind of rumored to maybe already have some ties to New Japan, and there's definitely hopes from this, at least from the fan side, that kind of plays out. So maybe something like that could happen. This would be a great place to debut an incoming star for the company. But yeah, I'm not saying necessarily like, for instance, like Kenny Omega and Jay White. I don't know that it needs to be to that level because they already have Jon Moxley on the card. But
yeah, and hey, it's West Coast. There's a ton of West Coast guys in AEW, SCU, the Bucks, Luchasaurus, and Jungle Boy.
They need to quit playing around. Bring back Matt.
Bring back Matt Jackson?
No, Matt Sydal.
Yeah.
Matto.
Yeah, your trainer Matt Sydal. That would be great to have him on the card. Yeah, there's a ton of great guys from AEW that they could bring in if they wanted to.
We're gonna end up with Jay Lethal. It's gonna be Jay Lethal against Filthy.
I don't know, man. I think by now, if we were gonna see Jay, that he would have been on Strong by now.
We'll see.
So speaking of New Japan Strong, another big news item coming out of New Japan of America, the Tag Team Turbulence Tournament. That'll be kicking off on July 16th on Strong. The brackets were announced for this tag team tournament. Winners are going to be getting some trophies, and all the first round matches will air on the July 16th show. So the first round, we have the Good Brothers taking on Clark Connors and TJP. We have Yuji Nagata and Ren Narita against Fred Yehai and Wheeler Utah. Kevin Knight and the DKC against the West Coast Wrecking Crew of Jarrell Nelson and Royce Isaacs. Then we have Violence Unlimited, Brody King and Chris Dickinson taking on Team Filthy, JR Kratos and Danny Limelight.
Yeah, this sounds pretty awesome. You did make a mistake earlier. You said the Good Brothers are making their debut, and I'm guessing that what you meant was their debut for New Japan in front of a live audience, because they're going to have already debuted during this tournament coming up in July.
That's right. Yeah. So their first appearance back in New Japan, will be this July 16th episode for this tag team Turbulence, and then the first appearance back in fans will be Resurgence.
Yeah, some interesting teams here, some interesting matchups. I mean, one that's really intriguing to me is this Yuji Nagata Ren Narita match against Freddie Yehai and Wheeler Utah. That just seems like a huge styles clash, but I really want to see Yehai and Nagata kind of mix it up. The amateur wrestling abilities of both of those guys, plus Ren Narita can go, and I don't know. It's just gonna be really interesting to see sort of like the hard strikes from Narita and Nagata matched up with the the technical acumen of like Yehai and Wheeler Yuta.
Yeah, that should be an awesome matchup, and also Yehai great with the suplexes as well. So is Nagata. So yeah, we're gonna see a lot of throws, a lot of strikes, a lot of grappling, a lot of submission. Should be a pretty awesome first round match.
Interesting, we're not seeing Mysterioso and what's
Jordan
Clearwater in here.
Well, they've been losing. They lost to the West Coast Wrecking Crew. They lost to Yehai and Utah, two of the teams in this tournament. So
they just picked up one of those wins. They might be, facing the Good Brothers. I think the Good Brothers against Clark Connors and TJP is funny because just Clark Connors and TJP haven't been on the same page like at all.
Right. I think it's a setup for a split and a heel turn here because also we have seen Connors and TJP. They teamed in the Super Junior Tag League. They've teamed together on Strong. But there's been some miscommunication between them the few times they have teamed on Strong. So I think this could be leading to a singles match between Connors and TJP.
I get the feeling lots of people have miscommunication issues when it comes to TJP.
I don't know why.
And then West Coast Wrecking Crew against Kevin Knight and the DKC. That seems like a foregone conclusion. Kind of like a gimme round, but that sounds like it should be really, really awesome. I think the most storied match here, though, is Violence Unlimited against Team Filthy, considering Chris Dickinson's history, as being a former member of Team Filthy. And dude, the tag team of Brody King and Chris Dickinson sounds like a fucking monster team.
Like they should just be wrecking dudes in this tournament.
Yeah. And so I'm guessing these top two, the way you have it listed here, the top two teams, that's A bracket, and then the bottom two teams, that's B bracket.
That's right, yeah.
Okay. Yeah, this sounds awesome.
Yeah, it's very interesting. I think just kind of looking at the bracket, how it's laid out, it seems like all roads lead to Good Brothers versus Violence Unlimited. You could have the heel Good Brothers against the babyface, Violence Unlimited, Brody King, Chris Dickinson. But I mean, Team Filthy is a pretty big team and a regular on Strong. Like they could easily pull upset and beat King and Dickinson as well.
Yeah, I think you're discounting a few of the teams here way too early. I'm not saying Brody, Violence Unlimited against Good Brothers couldn't be the way they end up going, but I see some alternate scenarios that could play out, totally different way for sure.
Yeah, I mean, there's definitely a lot of possibilities. It's just for me, I just think of like the biggest teams there, and I'm thinking the heel face dynamic. That just seems to be where my mind's going right now.
Yeah, no doubt. There is the possibility. I'm thinking there is a possibility that you have an upstart team like West Coast Wrecking Crew match up in the finals against a Good Brothers or against a Nagata Narita. Who's to say Nagata Narita doesn't win the whole thing,
Right.
Because, I mean, that would be a pretty strong way to kind of establish your, tag team turbulence tournament, having, legendary former ace dad mixed with a rising star of the future. I can't say that wouldn't be the way they end up going, but yeah, I mean, I think the Good Brothers have 3 possible opponents in Team Filthy, Violence Unlimited, or West Coast Wrecking Crew. I think all 3 of those matches could be potentially on the docket if that's the way they want to go as well.
Yeah. We had a question here from Viking Pain. He says, where's AEW in all of this? They have plenty of tag teams to send to tag team turbulence. Even a bottom tier team like Blade and Butcher would have been great. I think it was Brian Alvarez who first said the relationship between AEW and New Japan isn't as open as people think. There's still a forbidden door, but there's a crack here or there that will allow a guy to get through. Has he been proven to be right?
Well, I mean, I feel like I've been proven to be right because I was saying that before Brian Alvarez ever said that, Mm-hmm. And again, I just want to be clear. All these situations are not partnerships. They are talent trades. For me, and this is my opinion, for me, when it is truly, truly an actual partnership is when they're co-promoting shows together and when they're sending, a large number of talent throughout the year to work, for long periods of time in each other's companies, the way that Ring of Honor and New Japan were doing.
Right.
Until then, yes, it is a working relationship, quote unquote, but it's more of a talent trade. And right now, I think the situation is that we're seeing a lot more of that talent trade take place between Impact and New Japan than we are with AEW and New Japan. That's not to say that there aren't plans in place and they won't continue to work together, but I think it's a tit for tat sort of thing. I think it's like, you give us this, we'll give you that. Because keep in mind, AEW and New Japan are still competitors at the end of the day, and they're both trying to expand in the same marketplace for a very similar kind of fan, for, just such a sliver of the pie. So I don't know how often you're going to see them working together. And I hope it's more. I think it's really great and it's cool. And it's one of the things I was wrong about this year for sure. But I think that this particular tournament is a little bit of an indicator. Why aren't we seeing like, Jack Evans and Helico here or something like that?
Right. Yeah. Who knows? Maybe New Japan just didn't want to, ask for that. Who knows what the deal is there? And like you mentioned, I totally agree with you that I think we're not seeing a full-on partnership until we get like an Elite Rising tour in Japan, or we get an AEW New Japan War of the Worlds tour in the States. This kind of co-promotion and back.
Well,
and
one
forth.
thing too is, who here really realistically is Impact? I mean, you can make the argument and say Good Brothers, but we already knew from almost day one when they went to New Japan, based on the comments that they had made on Talking Shop, that they had the ability to sign and were already in talks with New Japan,
Right. Had there been no pandemic, I'm sure we would have been seeing the Good Brothers in New Japan.
So this doesn't feel like we're getting, this is a cool little gimme from Impact, but more so probably very likely the establishment of a true relationship between Good Brothers and New Japan once again. And, from that logic, you're looking at all guys and all teams that New Japan is working with currently and promoting and progressing. So it's not like they're really bringing in outside guys, even like Nelson and Isaacs, who you could say like are indie guys. It seems pretty clear that they're, sort of on the cusp of potentially signing with the company as well. They're being heavily featured on New Japan Strong. So
right. And then with Brody King and Chris Dickinson, even though that they are now using the Ring of Honor name of Violence Unlimited, those guys are clearly have been built on Strong. Just recently, they're starting to mention what's going on in ROH. So it's not like even like an ROH. It's like, here we go kind of thing. So
yeah. So, I mean, that's one way of looking at it. Also, Rich Latta would be highly disappointed in you, Viking Pain, to hear you call Blade and Butcher, a bottom tier team. Big Butch disrespect will not be tolerated.
Right. Yeah, dude. Rich loves Butcher. I love Butcher too. I think Butcher and Blade are an underrated team in AEW.
I watched Butcher have a fight with Chris Dickinson at Bloodsport in New York, and it was awesome. That's when I didn't even know who he was. He was just Andy Williams.
From Every Time I Die.
I don't know. I don't listen to that crap.
Next question here from Steven from the Wrestling Squared Circle Facebook group. He says, since Zach and Taichi said they want to fight teams outside New Japan, could we see Good Brothers win, or Finjuice coming back, since those teams might be considered Impact teams?
Well, Finjuice is not an Impact team, clearly, because they were on loan working, doing outside, excursion spots with them. But I think you could be absolutely right when it comes to Good Brothers. And I mean, obviously I painted the case that, they sort of have open contracts and can sign with New Japan and work with them pretty openly. But from a kayfabe perspective, yeah, they're Impact guys. They're the former Impact champions. That's their home base. Even though, you can even kind of consider them a little bit of AEW guys because they're on that TV show almost weekly. So that would be a quote unquote outside team. And I think that there's a good chance of that happening in the very near future as well.
Right. And if Dangerous Techers, if they do retain there, then boom, there you can go. If they beat Naito and Sonata, you could have Good Brothers kind of answer challenge, like, hey, you guys want an outside team? Well, here you go.
Yeah, that's great. That's a great point.
So while we're talking about Strong, let's talk about Ignition Night 1 that happened this past Friday. Show opened up, we had the Impact X Division champion, Josh Alexander, the Walking Weapon, defeat Alex Coughlin, which is now being branded as the Alex Coughlin Challenge Series. So Coughlin going through a similar thing as his Young Lion cohorts in Japan, Tsuji Nomura. And so he's doing his own challenge series here. So Josh Alexander being the first in many that will be facing Coughlin in the future. Young boy, what do you think about Coughlin and Alexander here?
This was something that I was really looking forward to, and they more than over-delivered here. Really went above and beyond. I know both guys can go, but I mean, I'd probably say this is Alex Coughlin's best singles match that I've seen of him so far in the entire time I've been watching him.
Absolutely agree. Yeah, it was very hard hitting. The grappling was great, very intense. Like you mentioned, both guys just kind of over delivered and brought the fire here.
Yeah, and I think last week on the show we talked about Josh Alexander, and it's funny, people keep calling him like underrated. I think it's not that he's underrated. I think it's more like he's unknown.
Right?
Because I don't think people that know him underrate him or think he's just like a good little hand. Like I think people that are actively watching him, especially like Impact fans, like kind of know how good he is. It's just he's not as well known based on his level of exposure so far. So I don't even know if underrated is the right term, so to be using for him. But
yeah, I think it's more just underexposed because prior to Impact it was mainly just indies. He dealt with a lot of injuries that kept him out of the spotlight.
Yeah.
And then Impact's finally kind of getting into people's spotlight with the partnership with AEW and the eyeballs coming there, and now coming on strong. He's being seen on more places, and some of his matches are getting out there more. And that's great to see.
Totally agree. But this was just great. Huge recommend. If you haven't seen it, definitely go out of your way to watch it.
Yeah, Alexander getting the win with a nasty double arm pile driver J Driller type maneuver there. Also the story, Alex Coughlin come back from the neck injury. Everybody's testing the neck. Well, Alexander definitely did test it in this match with that J Driller gets the win here. And post-match promo says that he kind of sound like we're going to see him on Strong more often. So that'd be interesting to see.
Yeah, and that's something that last week I said he was a guy I could see fitting into the New Japan sort of aesthetic pretty well, and I hope that we do see more of him.
Yeah, and we had a question here from Viking Pain. Said Josh Alexander is super underrated and a fantastic wrestler. He killed it on Strong. Who else from Impact would you guys like to see on Strong? Moose would be my number one.
Yeah, and Moose was kind of rumored to potentially be signing elsewhere. Looks like he just re-signed with Impact, so he's there for the foreseeable future. So who's to say that that's not a possibility? I mean, I know one of the issues in the past has been sort of like some of his like past issues domestically and that sort of thing. But I mean, with New Japan, I don't know that will apply. I mean, they almost used Marty Scurll this year.
Right, yeah.
So, they don't give a fuck.
Right. So, yeah, Moose is the guy we could see, and I would like to see from an in-ring standpoint. I think Eddie Edwards is another guy.
Here's my only thing with that. I'm down with it, but you got to bring me Eddie Edwards and not this fucking weirdo phantom of
Sandman Eddie Edwards,
the ghost of Eddie Edwards past. Like, I don't know who the fuck this guy is, and it's been this way for a couple years now, and like maybe other people are used to it, but I'm not. Like, I want American Wolf. I want Eddie Edwards, like, from the Noah days. Like, what the fuck are you guys doing?
You want a ROH TV champion, Eddie Edwards?
Yeah. The fuck. I mean, you could bring over, like, I don't know, Kenny Omega. I've made that joke before. I don't know. Is there anyone that you're like, that I don't know. To be honest with you, like, I'm not the biggest fan of the Impact roster personally.
Yeah.
There's a lot of guys that have a lot of talent and I would be a fool to like diminish that. But for me, like most of them don't really do a lot for me. You know,
what about Willie Mack?
Willie Mack's really cool, but he kind of falls in that category, you know? And, you know, I'm probably talking out the side of my mouth because if they brought him in, I'd probably be excited for it. But like, I don't know. I'm just not that into it, to be honest with you. There's a lot of guys, Trey Miguel, you know,
Chris
Pete
Bay,
Raju, Rich Swann, Petey Williams, but I'm just kind of like, eh.
Yeah, I mean, I think any of the X Division guys would be cool to have on there for like a junior style matchup. You know, our boy AC Romero, I think it'd be pretty cool to see him. Obviously, not like a big drawing thing, but I think it'd be just a cool opportunity for him. I think if you can get Shelly back in action, getting the Motor City Machine Guns.
The Machine Guns would be really cool if you could do that. That would be awesome. There's a lot of talent there. I'm just not invested. The problem is I'm not invested in most of the talent that's over there.
Yeah. And I would say Black Taurus, but I know he's also with AAA, and New Japan would probably do that to win one.
Yeah, and that's why I didn't say him. Like, and I don't even know. You know, I don't know what his real long-term status with Impact even is. You know,
right. I don't think it's set in stone because he loses a lot. Anytime I see him on their team on that TV, he's eating a pinfall.
That's why I said that. I mean, if Joe Doring is healthy and able to go, I would probably be excited to see Joe Doring. But I don't know, you know I don't know if he'd even be willing to do that and everything.
Yeah. So second matchup on Ignition Night 1, we
Zack Ryder,
Matt Cardona. Hey, man, that man has a hot feud with Nick Gage coming up. You know, they're having a big match for the GCW championship.
Well, if he wins the GCW title, he can bring it to Strong, and then that'd be cool, I guess. I'd like Nick Gage to come to Strong. Come playing.
Death match on Strong.
Yeah, why not? I don't give. It's America, bro. It's American wrestling.
So second matchup, we had the new team, Barrett Brown and Bateman. They defeated Adrian Quest and Fred Rosser. Bateman ends up getting the win for the team here, which is kind of funny because, you know, Barrett Brown's whole complaint previously was his partner picking up the win instead of him, but I guess he was happy that he picked up the win on his former partner in Adrian Quest.
Yeah, I guess that, like, appeased him.
Yeah, so and it seems like they're going to be setting up a singles match between Bateman and Fred Rosser.
Well, you know, I like Bateman, so
no love for the suntan Superman.
That's not a suntan. It's a little bit more of a suntan, bro. I mean, hey, you know, I've said positive things about Fred. I'm not invested in Fred Rosser. I think Fred Rosser is talented, but like I just don't care.
Yeah. Then we had the big main event here. My man, the leader of the Bread Club, Satoshi Kojima, defeated J.R. Kratos. Heavy hitting, you know, never style matchup here. There were some moments where I thought J.R. Kratos was going to get the win there. That moment where he was no-selling a series of DTs from Kojima, and Kojima was shook and backing down and wasn't getting lariat off, wasn't getting any of his big moves off. But, you know, finally towards the end, they were able to get, you know, the Koji cutter, get the strongest arm, and put down the monster, J.R. Kratos.
Yeah. Pretty exciting stuff here. And that's kind of the cool thing with like a Satoshi Kojima or like Yuji Nagata. You put them in a, you know, foreign situation like this against a guy that's pretty established like J.R. Kratos. And I mean, it kind of raises the stakes a little bit in the sense that, you know, if this was Japan, you kind of know who's going to win. But because it's Strong and it's overseas, you know, you're not really sure exactly the way it's going to pan out, which is exciting. So very good main event here for this week's episode. And again, definitely check out Alexander Coughlin.
Definitely, yeah. So coming up this Friday, Ignition Night 2, we're going to have Freddie Yehai and Will Utah taking on Kevin Knight in the DKC. A little preview of the tag team turbulence. Both of these teams are in the tournament on opposite sides of... Actually, they're on the same... No, yeah, they're opposite sides of the bracket. So
let's go LA Dojo.
Then we have Rocky Romero versus Clark Connors. This match was built up from the tag match a couple weeks ago, and Connors and Rocky kind of having a pull apart after the match. So finally getting a one-on-one match between these guys here on Strong.
And then the one we've all been waiting for, the main event, it is the second defense of the New Japan Strong Openweight title as Filthy Tom Lawler defends the belt against the Alpha Wolf, Carl Fredericks. Is that his name, the Alpha Wolf?
Yeah, the Alpha Wolf.
Lone Wolf?
Yeah. Alpha Wolf, yeah.
Is Baron Corbin the Lone Wolf?
Yes, well, he was at one point until he became the king.
Well, he's not the king anymore. He lost to Shinsuke Nakamura.
Yeah, I saw that.
So Shinsuke Nakamura is the king of the ring and the king of Strong Style. So he's double king. He's king. And then I don't know what Baron Corbin is. Baron Corbin could come over and then him and Carl Fredericks could be the Wolves.
Nah.
Yeah.
I'm not trying to see Baron Corbin on
the Alpha Wolves.
Do you think Nakamura was trying to do some Tanahashi cosplay that now that he's with Eric Boogs and they're doing the whole guitar thing?
Bro, I don't know what you're talking about. And that's not I'm not even being facetious or funny for the show. What the fuck are you talking about?
So Eric Boogs, the guitar guy from the Largo Loop, NXT.
What was his name? His name was Bugenhagen?
Yeah. So they have him. He's like Nakamura's manager. And like they...
What?
And they play guitar. Like he plays the guitar for Nakamura's entrance, and like Nakamura starts doing like air guitar with him.
I don't know, man.
Dude, and I only know this from seeing GIFs. I don't watch SmackDown, so. And
I don't know.
So.
I don't know, bro. Stop trying to bring me down with that negative talk. Let's move on.
Well, so,
Kizuna Road.
Well, hold on. Who's leaving the Strong title? Are you going? We going Lawler or we going Fredericks?
Yeah, we got Filthy Tom up in this B.
Yes, I'm going Filthy Tom as well. He's going to choke out the Alpha Wolf.
Yep. So I'm very much looking forward to it, though. Very much so, and we will have the full review next week.
Maddie's believes nature is beautiful, majestic, serene. But human nature is inventive, intrepid, reckless. Nature says, look how many colors I can fit in a sunset. Human nature says, look how many hot wings I can fit in my mouth. But human nature needs nature. That's why there's Maddie's all-natural acid and indigestion relief, a drug-free remedy for human nature, available at Walmart, CVS, Walgreens, and Amazon. These statements have not been evaluated by the Food and Drug Administration. This product is not intended to diagnose, treat, cure, or prevent any disease.
That is going to bring us to Kizuna Road.
Yeah, so open up a question from Dom Homie 101. Thoughts on the performances of Yota Tsuji and Yu Uemura in their run of the Gauntlet?
I mean, just outstanding, super impressed with both of these guys. I mean, I don't have enough superlatives to kind of throw on them, but every single time they're out there, and I mean, it's been this way for years now. I'm just, there was a time where we used to talk about like who was further ahead than one another, who was making more progress, where were they? I think that time is kind of come and gone. We're at a point where like both of them feel fully formed and able to perform on a super high level at this point. And they're ready. They're both ready.
Yeah, I've been loving the Gauntlet series. They've both been excelling in the matches they've had so far and kind of, putting together. We're seeing a lot of new stuff, a lot of stuff that they've been learning and just been, gelling really well with the veterans that they're going against. They've been the highlights of these cards, the best matches each night that's happened so far. And so, yeah, I'm really digging this. And, obviously I feel like this is leading to some kind of graduation, and I don't know if it's going to be a Toa Hanare situation where they just kind of graduate and get gimmicks, or if they are going to be planned to go, maybe they go to Strong or they go to Impact, or I know Rev Pro starting back up, maybe they're going to go to the UK, but I feel like this is going to lead to whatever that big next step is.
Yeah, I totally agree.
So then we have two shows to talk about here. So Wednesday, June 16th, we had Uemura's next match in the Gauntlet. He faced off against the Ace, Hiroshi Tanahashi, fell to the Ace in 13 minutes and 17 seconds.
Yeah, they gave them a lot of time here.
Yeah, we're seeing these young lions get some time here. I thought Uemura looked really good against Tanahashi. Kind of showing some disrespect to Tanahashi. There's a lot of slaps to the face here, and Tanahashi was not having any of that, and took out Uemura here.
Yeah, I'm wondering, with a lot of these matches, I mean, it's going to be a memorable series, but I'm wondering if, like, down the line, once Uemura and Tsuji are fully formed and have their gimmicks, and we're a couple years down the line, and conversely, guys like Tanahashi or Okada, kind of peter out in terms of their placement on the card, how we'll look back at this. Is it going to be like, are we going to look at it the way we did when you look at Okada's like early excursion matches or Jay White's, that sort of thing? Is it going to have like that? Oh man, like there's a Uemura Tanahashi match from when Uemura was like young lion. Like the other day I was watching Tanahashi against Boss Rutan from 2002, and like it's clearly like like an early graduate Tanahashi, and like it's really cool to see, and it's like it's one of those rarities. I'm wondering if any of these matches are going to be that sort of thing where like by the time Uemura and them come back, maybe Tanahashi is like even that much further down on the cards,
Right, yeah, and then they can get like a big win like on him when they come back in,
or maybe they never wrestle. You know what I'm saying? Like, yeah. I'm wondering if, and not just him specifically, I'm wondering if any of these are going to be like one-offs where it never happens again, and it's like, yeah, go back in the archives. There's like a Tsuji,
Okada
versus
match.
Yeah, there's a Tsuji Okada match. That's crazy.
Yeah, and a big thing here in this match too, Uemura is going for the Dragon Suplex, which is obviously a move that Tanahashi has used in his matches and has used in the finish in the past. So he was trying to hit that big move on the ace, couldn't get it pulled off. Tanahashi eventually.
Bro, you can't Dragon Suplex a Dragon Suplexer,
Yeah, you can't Dragon Screw a Dragon Screwer.
Well, you can, but you shouldn't.
Yeah. No. So yeah, Tanahashi eventually gets the Texas Cloverleaf hold on Uemura here and forces him to tap out. So then the second matchup, we had Tsuji's second matchup here as he taked on the Rainmaker Kazuchika Okada.
Yeah, and I mean, if Tsuji got the win here, I mean, that would put him in like probably number one contender status, like chance of a lifetime. You know what I'm saying?
Right. This could have, he could be facing the winner of Ibushi and Shingo.
This is basically Rocky versus Apollo Creed. Yeah. He was 1,000,000 to 1 shot.
But yeah, I thought this was a pretty fast-paced match here with 8 minutes, 53 seconds. I thought Okada, he had the working boots on. It was kind of working a faster pace here against Tsuji. And I feel like Tsuji was trying to, hit some of Tanahashi's moves here. I was trying to keep up with Okada, but it just felt like Okada was just a step ahead of him throughout the match here, which led to Tombstone, so a surprise from Rainmaker into a clutch pin that Okada gets the win here.
Yeah, he's been doing that lately, huh?
Yeah.
But yeah, I thought that was really cool. I hope that I'm really invested in Tsuji. Like, he's probably been my favorite guy of like this era. And so I'm hoping that this is like one of those things you look back down the line, and when him and Okada wrestle again in the future, it's like they had that one excursion match, because that's kind of how it is already with like Okada and Tanahashi.
Yeah.
They had the one excursion match, or the one Young Lion match with Okada and Tanahashi when Okada was still a young lion. Like, I would love for it to be like, yeah, like these guys are going to have a series down the line, but they had one before he was graduated,
Yeah, that would be dope. So then moving on to the rest of the card, we had the return of Kojima to Japan. He teamed up with Tenzan and Nagata to defeat the Great Bash heel team of Togi Makabe, Tomioka Hanma, and they teamed up with the Golden Star Kota Ibushi. Then we had Suzuki-gun team of Desperado Taichi, Kanemaru, and Zack Sabre Jr. They defeated the LIJ team of Bushi, Sanada, Shingo, and Tetsuya Naito. I can't remember if it was this show or the next show, but essentially Sanada and Naito, they used the autographs that they got from Sabre and Taichi as a finessing into a contract for a title match.
Yeah, I don't remember which show it was on, but that's pretty funny.
Yeah, and so they had Sugabayashi had signed it as well, and so they got Saber and Taichi to sign the program, which that's actually pretty much a match for the Sapporo tag title match.
Yeah, I mean it's one of those things like it doesn't really make sense, but it's just kind of funny. So
yeah. Then we had the main event, 10-man tag team elimination match with Bullet Club of Dick Togo, ELP, Evil, Ishimori, and Yujiro. They defeated the Chaos team of Goto, Sho, Ishii, and Yoshihashi. So obviously previewing the upcoming junior tag title matches along with the Never Six-Man match that we'll be talking about here in a second. ELP, the sole survivor here, gets the win for the Bullet Club team. Get some momentum going into their junior tag team title match. We had a question here from Mitch MM22. Do you think Evil will ever get a main event push again? Do you think he could be rehabilitated and get over, or has he sealed his fate as being just another BC guy? Even if he can be rehabilitated, do you think Gato will ever even try to?
Well, I don't really know the answer to that right now. There is a feeling that I have, and this isn't, I've been pretty clear I'm not the biggest Evil fan, but just unbiasedly, it sort of does feel like he's taking a bit of a rest or a respite timeout sort of thing. I don't know if that's just they're cycling him out while they kind of figure out how to put him back in, or if they're just maybe wondering if they need to retool him because they feel the experiment failed. The closest thing I can think of to this in recent times is when they initially started pushing Bad Luck Fale in a major way years ago, and over time kind of gradually moved him down. But there's a point where he was the Intercontinental Champion. He was wrestling.
Right, he beat Nakamura, yeah.
Nakamura, Okada, Tanahashi, he was sort of on that level for a period of time. So I'm wondering if that's sort of akin to this, or maybe it's its own unique thing. I don't know.
Yeah, we'll see what happens. But yeah, I kind of like where Evil's at, and I hope there is not another attempt to try and make him a main eventer.
I wouldn't be opposed to it if they just have him wrestle, more so in the style that I think is entertaining and appealing. And, I think they do need to retool his character a bit.
Yeah. So then we move on to a show that happened this morning, Tuesday, June 22nd. So obviously open up with the Young Lion Gauntlet series here. This time, Taichi defeating Yuya Mora 10 minutes and 12 seconds. Another good matchup here. Very hard hitting here. Yuya Mora tried to get the jump on Taichi at the bell. Was very aggressive, but just could not outstrike Taichi. Taichi was just killing him with those Gamangiri front kicks to the face, the axe boomba. He just couldn't outstrike Taichi here. And I know this match should be more about Yomura, but I think this was kind of a reminder to fans kind of what a badass Taichi can be when there's not an iron claw or gimmicks involved and he's just having a straight up wrestling match.
Yeah, I mentioned previously the connection with Taichi and Kawada and how Kawada really took it to him when he was Young Lion. And I feel like Taichi sort of kind of carries on that tradition. And that's sort of what we're seeing here with Yuya Mora. And yeah, he is a badass. It's funny, how much we've really come around on Taichi over the past, nearly 4 years. But, this is where we're at. Taichi fucking rules, and so does Yumura. But on today's show, the story was a story about Taichi, and that's kind of the interesting thing is with these lines, we've seen them in various different tournaments in the past, and usually there's a singular narrative that a storyline that sort of runs throughout the tournament with them and kind of defines their presence or being in that tournament. But in this 5-match series, you're not really seeing that. You're seeing self-contained stories each and every night. One night they'll look really competitive and Then another night they'll just kind of get squashed. And another night, it's a violent, spectacle. It really just depends on the kind of what they're being asked to do with their each unique opponent during this 5-match series. And it's been each story's been different every single night, which has been kind of cool.
Yeah. Yumura did get a hope spot here with a Hurricane Rana roll-up of the reverse of the last ride, but Taichi was able to come back, hit him with the last ride, and get the 1-2-3 there on Yumura. Then the next match, we had the other Tekker, Zack Sabre Jr., defeating Yota Tsuji at 13 minutes, 58 seconds. And I thought this was great from Tsuji because we got to see more of the technical wrestling side of Tsuji, a lot more grappling and submission base here.
I'll tell you, I've been paying attention to Tsuji's, his training and his wrestling for probably the past year specifically, because he's a bigger guy, similar frame to myself, and watching him kind of put things together. And I don't think he really has gotten enough credit for what he is capable of doing. And I mean, I'll be as bold to say, in my opinion, he's every bit as good as Gabe Kidd or Ewan Moore when it comes to being on the mat. But like you said, yeah, he got an opportunity here to kind of showcase more of that. And when you're in there with, a great technician like Zack Sabre, it brings it out and kind of puts it on display even more so,
Yeah, definitely. I think it's definitely a platform to show what Tsuji can do in this area. And so, yeah, we saw like a lot of flash pins, a lot of great grappling, some submissions, getting Sabre some interesting holes here, and kind of keeping up with Sabre for a little bit there until eventually, Sabre just, a little bit ahead of him and locks in I believe it was a triangle. It was a triangle choke and got Tsuji to submit.
Yeah. So, and these guys are not just getting pinned every night; they're getting a lot. They're getting submitted quite a bit during the series as well.
Yeah, Tanahashi busting out the cloverleaf on these guys, and Sabre and Taichi submitting some of the guys as well. Yeah, so they're getting beaten all kind of ways here. So then after that, we had the Chaos team of Okada, Sho, Yo, and Toriano defeating the Bullet Club team of ELP, Gedo, Jado, and Taiji Ishimori. Then we had Tenkoji teaming with Ibushi and Nagata. They defeated the LIJ team of Bushi, Sanada, Shingo, and Tetsuya Naito. Interactions between Shingo and Ibushi were excellent in this matchup and really makes you look forward to the upcoming title match in the Dome.
Agreed.
Then the main event, we had the Never Openweight 6-man tag team championship on the line. And young boy, we were wrong. The Chaos team, Goto, Ishii, Yoshihashi, they successfully defended the titles against the Bullet Club team of Dick Togo, Evil, and Yujiro Takahashi.
Well, I said last week, even if we were wrong, I would be happy to be wrong, you know, and, that's exactly how it kind of played out. So I was still right.
And also, big news here. We had the return of Peter accompanying.
That's the big news.
Yeah, Peter is back. I laughed. Freaking Milano popped when she came. She's like, Peter is back.
It kind of reminded me of like those memes when it was like the Earth is healing. The Peters have returned. The Earth is healing.
Yes.
But one thing that no one was wrong about is we've been mentioning just the incredible run of 6-man tag team title defenses and matches since Goto, Ishii, and Yoshihashi have won these belts. And we pretty much said that this was going to be another banger in a slew of bangers. I don't know if I would like rank it up there as high as like some of the tip top stuff that they have done, but this was still fantastic. And I mean, they had a lot of time to work too. And I think, I don't know, I'd probably say it's probably like the best Evil match since like, I don't know, since the G1 last year.
Since like the Sabre G1 match, maybe.
Either that or the Yoshihashi match.
Yeah.
Or if you really want to get technical, you could go back to like the Hiromu match when Hiromu challenged for the double gold.
Yeah, Sengoku Lord.
Yeah. So yeah, and that's another one of those like Hinokuni, Sengoku Lord, like these weird, the weird tours all with the names mixed up. I don't like that.
Yeah, this was a very good main event here. Also, it was an equal main event, so there still was some shenanigans, some ref bumps, but that was to be expected.
Yeah, you kind of have to expect that at this point. Like, I've kind of resigned myself, like, okay, this is going to happen. But,
Right.
At least it wasn't to the nth degree,
Right, and it wasn't a world title match.
That too.
But clearly, what we've seen in this whole tour has been a lot of the build-up's been between Ishii and Dick Togo. So towards the end of the match, there's a lot of great near falls with Dick Togo almost pinning Ishii several times. They had ref distractions, and he would get a schoolboy. He tried to use the garrote. They tried to triple team Ishii, but Ishii was not having none of that. Lariats around, hits a big brain buster on Dick Togo, puts the Booker man away, and the Chaos team retains the titles here.
Yeah. So they now have the most match time for any 6-man tag team champions. They also, I think, in the last 4 matches, or they've been in the 4 longest title matches in history. Speaking of Chaos, and then they've got the most defenses and the longest time holding the title. I think at this point, you could maybe make an argument for, say, Dangerous Tekkers, but where we're standing in the calendar year right now, I think it's really hard to argue against this Chaos 6-man tag team being the tag team of the year in New Japan.
Yeah, I mean, you could argue Dangerous Tekkers maybe, but no, I think Chaos here has the consistency. They have the great matches, the great main events here.
Yeah, I mean, and they're also having regular defenses.
Right.
And sometimes the heavyweight title seems like it's been on ice or for like prolonged periods, and these guys just keep cranking these matches out. Like, it's kind of crazy the run they're on.
Yeah. I got a question from Dom Honey 101. Thoughts on the return of Peter to New Japan?
Yeah, I was happy. Glad that she's getting work.
Yeah, not sure what the situation there. I don't know if she got vaccinated or just felt more comfortable finally coming back in, or whatever the reason is. Happy to see Peter. She is a integral part to Yujiro Takahashi's presentation.
The thing is, like, realistically, like, they could bring someone else in, and I guess they have in the past at different periods, but yeah, like, she's kind of the only thing that really makes him relevant.
Right. And so, yeah, it's a very, very important part to the gimmick. He's a very important member of the Bullet Club that was greatly missed. And so, yeah, very happy that return of Peter.
Hawaiian Punch BVE says, what are the top titles in New Japan right now, and why are they the never 6-man tag team titles?
I mean, yeah, you could, like we mentioned, you could argue that the never 6-man titles are the top with just the great main event.
You'd be wrong.
All right, I'm saying you could argue it, but I don't think that's correct.
Yeah. I mean, it's got to be the world title.
Right. I mean,
even with all the controversy and everything like that, like, it's clearly still they're having the best matches for it, and I still kind of count it spiritually as this, connected to the Double Gold, which there was incredible matches for that.
Right. Remember, the legacy's just evolved. It's still a part of the title, but it's not a part of the lineage. But it's evolved. You get it?
Yeah, totally.
But yeah, I'll see. Yeah, the world title. I mean, you look at all the matches that they've had this year starting from Wrestle Kingdom to now. Like, the world title matches have been incredible. And then from a secondary title, I think the strong title is something that you can put up there. It's another title that's been great this year with the Filthy's the tournament, and then Filthy's defense, and then now getting ready to take on Fredericks. So,
well, that kind of remains to be seen.
Yeah.
But yeah, somewhat agree.
Then we have some questions here from EMJ Does PR. He says, where will Yumura go on excursion, UK or US?
I mean, I don't know for sure that he's going to go on excursion, but if he does, I mean, I don't know. Where would you like to see him go?
I think it could be pretty interesting for him to go to the UK, go to Rev Pro, get some more of that British experience there. It seemed like it might be easier though to send him to the US. Indies are starting back up. You can have him work strong. You can have him work some indies in the area. You could potentially have him work on Dark. He could go to Impact. He could go to Ring of Honor. There seems to be a lot of different places he can kind of bounce around if he goes to the U.S.
Yeah, that's kind of what I'm thinking right now. I mean, I guess they have partners in the UK and Mexico, but because right now it feels like these guys are ready to go, and I don't know the status or the state that those, just different regions are in when it comes to wrestling, if it would be a conducive, environment for them to learn what they need to learn and be exposed to what they need to be exposed to. But the U.S. is pretty much open, so that's kind of my thinking.
Yeah. And he follow up to that, he says, when he returns, what character and faction would suit him best?
I never know when it comes to guys returning and joining factions, and I typically tend to be wrong when it comes to this sort of thing. I mean, do you have any thoughts here?
I mean, if I had to make a guess right now, I would say maybe Suzuki-gun. We've seen like Saber and Taichi really take it to him, and he's been wanting to fight Suzuki. Or that whole rivalry with Suzuki, and so maybe Suzuki liked that, and maybe wants to take him under his wing.
Yeah, now that you're mentioning that's probably what I agree with as well.
But who knows? He could come back with green hair and be Super Master Uemura and be a bar Sekigun. Who knows? Yeah.
Kind of considering what has happened with Okan and and Wato, and I'm not even complaining. I'm just saying, like, there's no way we could have ever known they would end up the way that they were when they returned. So, really, who's to say, or who knows?
Right. And his last question: where is Gabe Kidd?
Probably in the UK, I would assume, if he's not wrestling. I'm wondering. I don't want to speculate about anything that we don't know for sure.
Yeah.
But I just want to say, like, it feels like we haven't seen him since the COVID outbreak.
Right. Yeah.
So I don't know if maybe he went home after that time, and he's in the UK or something like that, or who knows.
Right. And I mean, it's possible he went back to the US. I mean, technically he is a member of the LA Dojo. So maybe he went back to continue training with Shibata. Who knows?
My only thinking is they don't have him advertised for anything, and they haven't used him on any tapings. It seems like if he came back, they would utilize him. But I don't know. Narita was sort of, MIA for a long time. So
yeah. So we'll see what happens with Gabe Kidd there. So coming up tomorrow or today, whenever you're listening to this, Wednesday, June 23rd, we have another Kizuna Road show. We have the Great Okan taking on Yototsuji, Kota Ibushi taking on Uemura. We'll have the Chaos team of Goto, Okada, Ishii, Toriyano, and Yoshihashi taking on the Bullet Club team of Dick Togo, Evo, Gedo, Jado, and Yujiro. Then semi-main event, we'll have Despi, Taichi, Kanemaru, and Saber taking on LIJ. And then the main event will be for the IWGP Junior Heavyweight Tag Team titles, where Punky 3K, Sho, and Yo will defend the titles against the Bullet Club team of El Phantasmo and Taiji Ishimori. Young boy, who you think is walking away with the titles?
I think it needs to be Roppongi 3K, right?
I would think so, and I would guess it probably, ELP would have to eat the pin there, because you do have Taiji, who's going to be getting a shot at Despi for the title next month. I don't think you'd want to beat him, but also then you could also potentially have the titles kind of, tied up with him going on to a singles program.
Yeah, one thing I don't like is how, and they've sort of needed to do it because there's so few juniors available, but they've kind of interlumped the junior tag team title into the feuds with the junior title, and very often they've had like the challengers be in a title situation for a tag title situation right around the same time as they're like challenging. And so I don't like the idea that, like, for instance, Ishimori needs to look strong, so he needs to win the junior tag team titles and carry it into the match, because hypothetically maybe he's not going to beat Desperado, that sort of thing. So I wish that they'd kind of separate these two titles a little bit, so things don't just always feel so like intertwined all the time with those two belts, you know?
Right. It's like you always kind of have to have a program with both at the same time.
Yeah, and then it feels like the outcome of the lesser title, which is the tag team titles, is sort of determined on the future booking of whatever the junior title might end up being. So that's kind of why I'm thinking maybe Roppongi 3K wins here, kind of retains and stays strong as champions, because, you know, I don't know, if Phantasmo and Taiji Ishimori win, it's kind of the same thing that's the same boat Show and Yo were just in when, you know, Yo was trying to challenge.
Right, and then I feel like it's kind of a giveaway that Ishimori is not beating Desperado.
Right, if he wins for sure, then it kind of feels like he more than likely won't win the actual belt.
Right. So yeah, I'm gonna go with Roppongi 3K here, retaining.
I also heard that El Phantasmo's contract, like, he doesn't have a lot more time on his contract. Is that something you've heard?
I have not heard of that. It's the first I'm hearing about that.
I don't remember where I heard it, but I heard someone saying that that he might be one of those guys that are kind of looking at their options. I mean, come the end of the year.
Yeah, I wouldn't be surprised. I mean, he's definitely gotten over with fans and has great matches, and I feel like he's somebody that could be utilized in AEW or some other North American promotion. So we'll see what happens there. So some few other news items that we didn't cover at the beginning of the show. First, from the Observer newsletter, Will Ospreay got the MRI results back on his lower back this week, and he said that while the news wasn't the best, it did say that damage was treatable, and the results have gotten him fired up to return. So, a little Ospreay update there, so to keep our eyes on the return of Will Ospreay. Strong openweight champion, Filthy Tom Lawler. He won a straight 30-27 decision over Jordan Young on the 6/17 PFL show in Atlantic City, New Jersey. After the win, Lawler took off his gloves and left him in the ring, signaling the retirement from MMA. So it looks like Lawler's going to be focusing more on wrestling.
Yeah, sounds like it. Sounds like he may be done.
Then we have Jeff Cobb is returning to the U.S. after his tours in New Japan, and he's going to be doing some indies here in the States before he returns to New Japan.
They gotta fix him, teach him how to rework the indie style.
Yeah,
he's been hitting guys too hard, you know. He's gotta lay off.
Satoshi Kojima defeated Rhino last week on Impact to earn a tag title match for him and Eddie Edwards. So I think it'll be this week. Kojima and Eddie Edwards taking on Violent by Design for the Impact tag team titles. Then last thing here, Albert Hardy Jr., better known as ACH, announced on his Instagram that he will be stepping away from wrestling. He retired in 2019. Came back, and then in the pandemic, he's been working for New Japan Strong, MLW. He's done a number of independents. He's done Game Changer, AEW, and different Texas groups. He was last on New Japan on the February 26th episode of Strong, and wrestled through the first week of May for AEW as well. I've done some of the MLW TV tapings through March, and a San Antonio promotion with a local TV through April. So any thoughts on ACH stepping away?
Yeah, I mean, I think he's voiced in the past thoughts about potential retirement, or, you know, maybe even made some announcements and then kind of went back on them. But kind of similar to like Leo Rush, where both guys have sort of been contemplating or considering it for a bit now. I don't know what really was the impetus for him making this decision, but, you know, if this is what makes him happy, I hope he's happy. He is one of my favorite guys to, you know, see wrestle and be entertained by, and I kind of, in a certain sense, selfishly hope that this isn't the end of the road for him. It's just an announcement. We'll see him back on the cerulean blue mat, sooner rather than later. But, if this is the way it is, there's a lot of really great ACH stuff out there, especially on New Japan World with all his like runs through Super Juniors and, the different tag teams he's had with guys like Taguchi and stuff like that. So, I hope it's not the end. If it is, he's had a great run, and I just feel like there's a lot more for him. Once things open up, I feel like there could potentially be more for ACH down the road.
Right, and I think the encouraging thing is he says that he's stepping away. He didn't use the words retirement like Leo Rush said, I'm retiring. He said, I'm stepping away. So that could leave the door open for maybe him coming back in the future.
I hope that is the case, because I mean, he's fantastic at what he does, and I feel like him in the junior division, him, in another Best of Super Juniors, like I could see him like going to the finals or winning one of those and kind of like being like one of the top, Gaijin guys in that division. Yeah.
All right, we have a few questions here to run through, and then recommended match of the week. So first from Viking Pain says, do you guys know what happened to Federation Wrestling? I believe it was Young Boy who said that it was never going to happen, but why? And will this repair the broken bridge between ROH and CMLL?
I just said it was never going to happen because look at the talent that was announced for that show, and you look at the politics of the different affiliations that they all have, how much money it was going to cost to pay to have all those names, and whatever supposed financial backing they had. That all just seems super suspect to me. Plus, it's not the first time that guys who aren't CMLL and aren't AAA have tried to start a major promotion. That's not to say that there aren't like other promotions out there. There's tons of them, and there's even regional ones like the Crash, or there's like Lucha Libre Elite in the past. But realistically, with the kind of established history that CMLL and AAA have in the region, the idea that some new guys like are just going to come up, snatch up all the talent like that, like I guess it could happen in the right scenario. This just didn't feel like it was that, and I just was like, this is bullshit. It's never gonna happen. I don't know if it's gonna. I'm pretty sure Ring of Honor and CMLL, regardless of what happens, their relationship seems to be done, which doesn't bode well for those two companies' ongoing relationship with New Japan, because they all seem to be somewhat dependent on one another.
Right, yeah, I think, CMLL, we've seen the past there. They will cut ties with people very easily. We've seen that with, Roosh and Dragon Lee and their family, the Munoz family. And so now I think we're going to see this with ROH, and I think for a lot of the guys, CMLL guys that were going to try and work this show, I'm sure a lot of those guys are not going to get booked again for CMLL shows in the future.
Yeah.
His next question says, I was recently listening to Talking Shop podcast with the Good Brothers and Rocky, and they were talking about the recent WWE releases, and they were all pretty much unanimously thought that Buddy Murphy would be a great fit in New Japan. Now, with Rocky being the guy who books foreign talent, do you think we will see Murphy on Strong or New Japan proper in the future?
Well, what's the one knock on Buddy Murphy? Realistically, it's, maybe a lack of being a great promo. Other than that, his look, his physique, his work, that stuff's all top notch. But in New Japan, you don't really have to be a top promo. Most of it is dependent on your work. So if there was one guy that I was going to bring in that I think that would be, from the recent firings, like he's probably top 2, top 3. So I think that it's like sort of a natural fit. Does that mean he for sure is going to come in? I would say no, it's not, but there's a high likelihood. I wouldn't see why that would be a great landing spot for him.
Right, and I know you mentioned earlier when we were talking about Resurgence, that could be a great place to debut somebody. If they're going to bring him in, that could be a cool thing to kind of bring him there and kind of get that pop from the live crowd and bring him into New Japan that way.
Maybe I don't know that he'd be ready to challenge for one of the big belts, but what if you brought him in and he was the Resurgence challenger for the Strong title?
Him versus Lawler, yeah.
That would be cool.
Yeah, or you can just set him up maybe against one of Narita or Fredericks or Connors, like one of the LA Dojo guys.
Isn't Buddy Murphy from Australia?
Yes.
Yeah, I mean, there's also sort of that like oceanic, connection with New Japan in that region as well. I know he probably doesn't live there right now, but that's where he's from. I remember it was a big deal when he won like that cruiserweight belt on that, big Australia stadium show for WWE.
Yeah. And again with that too, he could probably maybe fit in with like the United Empire, to kind of represent Australia in that group.
Yeah, that's a thought. I had not thought of that. They don't have a junior.
Right, yeah. And so, yeah, Great O'Connor is looking elsewhere, so who knows that Buddy Murphy could be the junior of the Empire. Next question, with the recent match between Utami and Shuri getting a huge 5.5 star rating from Uncle Dave and Stardom in general getting a lot of steam, will this finally shut the door on the talk of NJPW having a women's division, or will this actually have an inverse effect and prompt NJPW and Stardom to work together more?
Well, there's never been any kind of talk of New Japan having a women's division. I think that New Japan and Stardom working together is really just dependent on what their parent company wants for them. We kind of saw the recent big cyber agent show where all the different brands worked together, and it seemed to be a huge financial success. Who's to say New Japan and Stardom didn't do some version of that down the road? But I don't know that, the perception of this match has anything to do with any of that sort of stuff.
Yeah, I don't think so. I think they're just going to see this as, kind of a big business for Stardom and, just continue to grow Stardom in popularity. I mean, since Bushiroad's taken over, Stardom has grown tremendously. They've been doing bigger buildings, and I think they have a really great talent roster right now. And shout out to the Stardom English Twitter account that retweeted the One Nation Radio episode reviewing this match. Yeah, I think great things going on Stardom. I don't think there's any need to, have them like make this like a women's division for New Japan. On his last question here, to our resident fight fan aficionados over at KISS, break down the MMA match between Hager and Wardlow on AEW, and was it better or worse than the Samoa Joe Kurt Angle one in 2008?
I didn't see this. I didn't watch it, so.
So I did watch Hager and the Wardlow here. It was very.
I can tell you it's not better than Joe and Angle from 2008, although I don't know. I guess it is kind of a shoot match, but it's not the same. It is,
but it wasn't really like billed at like this was billed as like
an
MMA fight. Like Joe and Angle was billed as a steel cage match, but both guys kind of
worked it that way, but they didn't strictly work it as a shoot.
Right.
They had shoot elements, but it was still a wrestling match.
Right, and I think did Kurt Angle wear like MMA shorts? I think he might have wore MMA.
He did.
Yeah.
I'm pretty sure he did. Yeah.
Yeah. So in the presentation a little bit, they kind of treated it like.
Well, I think they had like Frank Trigg as like the special guest
Right.
referee.
Yeah. But they didn't say like this is an MMA. They didn't, have like a MMA style cage. Like this was like this is an MMA fight. Here's an MMA style ring, MMA style cage, and so.
Yeah, I'm looking at pictures. Yeah, he wore freaking MMA trunks. I need to rewatch this match. I haven't seen it in years. It's really good.
Yeah. As far as like Wardlow and Hager, I enjoyed the match. I popped freaking Wardlow did a Hurricane Rana in the second round of the match, which was hysterical. I died laughing. It was so hysterical. But I mean, I thought they worked it pretty good. I mean, I don't think it's the best shoot fight style. Obviously, Josh Barnett's Bloodsport in recent years has kind of been key in like the shoot fight style in pro wrestling. But I thought they worked a good match. I thought it was very enjoyable. It wasn't the best shoot fight style, but I thought it was good.
I didn't see it, so I really can't say. I need to go back and watch it. Dude, here's the thing is like, I already wasn't watching Strong on a Friday night, so I'm for sure not watching AEW on a Friday night. And like, I don't know. Like, I'm just not going to watch AEW until they come back to Wednesdays because like, I don't know. I've got a life.
Moving on to Just a Little Bear 01 says, of the older 5 lines of the LA Dojo, Fredericks, Connors, Coughlin, Narita, and Kid, who do you see as the first to win a title in New Japan that isn't the Strong title?
Well, since that encompasses all the belts, I mean, that could be anybody. Let's just put all those names on a board and like spin one of those arrows around until it like lands on one of them randomly. I have no idea. Let's just say, I don't know, Gabe Kidd. Because why not? Like, who knows? I have no idea.
Right, because I mean, obviously, some of these guys might be juniors. Some of these guys might get teamed up together. It could be, obviously, it might be a little bit easier to get a junior title or tag team title, maybe a never title over like getting the world title.
Never 6-man.
Right. But if I had to
KOPW.
I literally forgot all about KOPW. But if they, I'm thinking singles title. I'm leaning towards Carl Fredericks just because he has been the guy that they've kind of pushed at the head of the class in that group. He won the Young Lions Cup, and I feel like they clearly saw big things for him. Also, they put him against Kenta in the New Japan Cup, and there's going to be some big stuff there. And so I think if anybody's going to get like the first kind of big singles title moment, I would think it'd be Carl Fredericks.
Nah, it's Narita.
I mean, I'd be happy with that too. I love Narita, and I think he could easily.
Are you saying you wouldn't be happy if any particular one of them won?
I mean, I would be happy. I don't know. I just feel like Fredericks is like the main guy that they've been pushing. But Narita, you think Narita's going to be a junior, or you think he's kind of bulking up enough to be a heavyweight?
I think he's too violent the way he wrestles to be a junior. Like, I think he kind of needs to be a heavyweight, but I really don't know.
So I feel like he's bulked up since leaving Japan. So I feel like he's kind of teetering that edge. I feel like he could be a heavyweight.
Hard to say at this point.
Yeah. Next question from Steven from the Wrestling Squared Circle. In a perfect world and Hiromu coming back and COVID gone, you mentioned him and Dragon Lee. Since Dragon Lee is now a Rudo, could we have a newer feud with Hiromu as a face and Dragon as a Rudo?
Possibly, but I don't know that the face-heel alignment really ever truly dictated much about this feud in New Japan. I think it definitely did in Mexico and in ROH, but I don't think it did in New Japan at all. Also, keep in mind, Ryu Lee and Dragon Lee are not the same guy. Okay?
So
they do all the same moves, they look identical, but one is Ryu Lee and one is Dragon Lee.
So Dragon Lee is a heel, but Ryu Lee is a face, is what you're telling me.
Correct. Correct.
Dragon
That's
Lee.
like remember when like Hulk Hogan was like getting he was I don't know, he was like suing that group for the sex tape or whatever.
Oh yeah, Gawker.
Like, yeah, Gawker, and they're asking him about like his like measurements, and he's like, Terry Bollea is, but Hulk Hogan is.
Oh man, yeah.
But yeah, I mean, I guess there could be a situation where Ryu Lee comes back, but like, working heel. But I don't know if New Japan's going to acknowledge like the ongoing Federation and Gobernable like storyline.
Right. We've seen very little of like ROH storylines carry over. We're seeing it a little bit now with like the whole Violence Unlimited with Brody and Chris Dickinson, but we really haven't seen a ton of that with Ryu Lee prior to the pandemic. I know he did wear his LFI jacket or jersey to the ring for Wrestle Kingdom, and the announcers were clear to point out that's not LIJ. Like, don't worry about what's on his jersey. So we'll see.
We will see.
Series of questions here from Hawaiian Punch BV. First, have you been keeping up with the real NJPW Strong Champion Shoeface Antonio Carlos Jr. over at PFL?
No.
Yeah, I don't know who that is.
He's the last fighter that defeated Filthy Tom Lawler, and I believe that was after,
Oh, okay.
So it's not the real.
It's the lineal.
It's the lineal. He's carrying the lineal NJPW Strong title. We should
track this.
We should track this. Yes.
This next question: why is Naoya Inoue the most entertaining fighter in boxing right now?
Because he fucking schools people and knocks them out, and he's fast and he hits hard, and like he's awesome.
It says, what do you think about your pick from last week, Teofimo Lopez being an anti-vaxxer and catching COVID?
I don't remember who it was, but I heard a rumor that that Lopez like doesn't actually have COVID, but like this is a cover because they couldn't sell enough tickets.
Wow.
I mean, I don't have any thoughts. Like, you think I'm surprised that a fighter is an anti-vaxxer or that they catch COVID? Like, no. These are people that get hit in the head and use their bodies to fight each other for their living,
right?
For their to like, what the fuck.
On to the UFC fights this weekend. What do you think about that Cyril Gane or Gagne and his chances in a future fight against Ngannou?
I mean, we'll see. I'm not as familiar with Gane, but I mean, at this point right now, I don't unless the fighter's name is John Jones, I don't give most fighters a great chance against Ngannou. I mean, he's the scariest fighter I've ever seen in my life.
He says Volkov should be an interesting test for him this weekend, and do you think his height will give Gane some trouble?
Again, I'm not that familiar with Gane, but I mean, I'm very familiar with Volkov, and yeah, I mean, his height usually gives most heavyweights, a lot of trouble. Kind of looking up Cyril Gane, and he's 8-0. Don't know much about him. Professional fighter. Oh wait, I think I saw this guy fight before. Man, he kind of looks like Anthony Joshua a little bit.
I have to look that up and see.
He's a French fighter. He's got 7 wins in kickboxing, 8 wins in MMA, 3 knockouts, 3 submissions, 2 decisions. Oh yeah, he just beat Rosenstruck. I didn't watch that fight though, and he was the guy that knocked out Dos Santos. I didn't watch that either. Yeah. So I don't know. I guess I'll have to check him out. I hadn't heard anything too buzzworthy about Gane just yet as being like a future contender or anything personally.
Yeah, I mean, I'm very kind of casual with the MMA, but I really haven't heard any of my MMA friends really talk about him or hype him up. And yeah, like you mentioned, Ngannou is just like a freak athlete right now, and just I have a hard time seeing anybody taking him out right now.
Not just that, like he's become so seasoned and mature as a fighter.
Right.
You just look at the evidence from that previous fight he had with freaking God. Why do I forget fighters' names?
I know what you're talking about because he used more of like
Stipe.
Stipe. He used more of like the ground game.
And it's just one of those things. It's like if he hits you, he's probably gonna put you to sleep. And very few people have had enough of a chin or enough of ability to avoid to take him into deep water. So, and at this point, I don't know if anyone will. Yeah, Volkov against Gane, that actually sounds very interesting. That's one I'll definitely check out this week.
Then the last set of fight questions here from Dom Homie 101. First thoughts on the upcoming Tank Davis versus Mario Barrios fight. Any thoughts on Tank at 140? In my opinion, I'm looking forward to the fight. And I do think this will be a tough fight for Tank, but I do believe Tank will win. He just got to go to the body.
Yeah, I mean, Gervonta Davis is one of the, most impressive fighters that are out there right now. I mean, after what he did to, like, Leo Santa Cruz and Gamboa, like, he's the truth. We already kind of knew it, but seeing him kind of take the old guard out that way, like, it's kind of crazy. The Barrios fight should be difficult, but I mean, what fight is this happening at? This is okay. Yeah, so this is gonna be at 140. That's gonna be the big test. I mean, he was at 135 just prior to this, and that looked like it might be his optimum weight, but not totally sure because I mean, Gervonta is not the biggest guy in the world, and he's already gone up 3 weight classes. I mean, he's 5'5.5". So, I mean, with that frame, I don't know if I could see him getting up to 147. Like, this feels like it might be his max. Yeah, I don't know.
Any thoughts on the upcoming Lomachenko versus Nakatani fight? Don't be surprised if we see an upset in the fight.
I would be super surprised. I mean, I think people are kind of forgetting how special Lomachenko is just because Teofimo beat him. But I mean, yeah, I think Lomachenko is a once in a generation type of fighter. I really do. I'm excited to see this fight, but I mean, I would be super surprised if Nakatani beat Loma.
And then last thoughts on Anderson Silva upsetting Julio Cesar Chavez Jr. At this point, I think Chavez Sr. would trade his son for Canelo in a heartbeat, and he told this to Canelo when they both embrace each other.
Okay, I'm pretty sure that's not what he told. Yeah, man, I was wrong last week. I just figured there's no way that Anderson Silva could beat former middleweight world champion Julio Cesar Chavez Jr. But that's exactly what happened. I mean, Anderson Silva was like almost 10 years older than him, I think. And yeah, for 8 rounds, I mean, he beat this guy up and he cut him and he looked crisp. I mean, Anderson Silva, like, he's one of my all-time favorite fighters. So, like, I shouldn't be surprised. But, I mean, Muay Thai and MMA are a completely different animal than it comes to boxing. And I know he's a huge boxing fan. I know he's been, I know he's had pro fights, back in Brazil. But, I mean, those were, like, in gymnasiums, like, 15, 20 years ago, maybe more. So that it's just crazy that he went out there. I mean, he was toying with Chavez. Like, there was times where, like, he was, like, touching his ankles and then fucking, tagging this guy. His jab was so crisp. But yeah, it was funny when Chavez Jr. and the Canelo stuff, that was kind of funny, but or senior, I should say. But yeah, man, JCC Jr., like, he looked like he even like train or cut weight or anything for this. Like, I don't know.
Probably underestimating Silva here.
I feel like other people who are watching this now might want to maybe fight Anderson Silva in a boxing fight. Like, maybe we finally could get that Roy Jones fight that I was talking about before. So I know that they were talking about maybe even him and Jake Paul. Bro, I think you'd fuck up Jake Paul.
Maybe they'll make it a exhibition, so there's
No. Like, Anderson Silva's a warrior. He's not trying to fight no exhibitions. He wants to go for the heart,
Oh, that wraps up the questions. Now on to recommended match of the week. So last week you recommended Liger versus Owen Hart from their Top of the Super Junior match that was on YouTube. Watch this match, and it was a awesome matchup. I mean, this match I feel like holds up to today's standard with a lot of the stuff they were doing.
I agree.
Great chain wrestling, great sequences. I wrote down awesome X Division sequences because I felt like I felt like I was watching an X Division match. Like, this could have opened up, Impact in 2005, and it would be great. And I think this could be a match on AEW or any local indie, and it would fit that kind of high flying style. Owen was great as he usually is, and hitting a plancha, and there's a lot of the technical work that he was doing on Liger's arm. A lot of great submissions. Liger was working the arm as well. Ton of great reversals. My heart dropped a little bit when Owen hit a tombstone on Liger. See, he got up in position, and immediately I'm just thinking to what he did to Stone Cold. But he did a regular tombstone. He didn't do the sit-out one. He did the Austin. Follows up with a flying headbutt. Kind of see the Dynamite Kid influence there. Goes for a moonsault for a near fall. Then Liger does this like a super electric chair drop kind of thing. Almost dropped Owen right on his head. That was pretty crazy. And then he finishes him off with a super DDT, which we talked about when we did the Final Countdown series. How Liger won some of his matches with this top rope super DDT that looks super nasty. I don't know how you like really protect yourself on that thing, but obviously they did. But it looks devastating, and like if somebody can do that safely, like that's a great finish. And so, yeah, really great match here with Owen and Liger.
Awesome. I'm glad you liked it. What would you go with the rating on that?
Probably like 4.5.
Yeah, that's probably about where I'm at as well.
Now for my pick for recommended match of the week, we're going back to 2012. We're going to January 4th in the Tokyo Dome, and we're looking at the first matchup of the night for the IWGP Junior Tag Team titles. Rocky Romero and Davey Richards taking on Ryusuke Taguchi and Prince Devitt.
Looking forward to this. Yeah, definitely looking forward. I don't know if I'm pretty sure I've seen this, but I'm not totally sure.
Yeah, I haven't seen any of Davey Richards run in New Japan, and I almost forget that he was there for a little bit and teamed with Rocky, and so pretty excited that he's coming back to wrestling now. He's going to be a part of MLW, and I think Davey would be an interesting name to maybe get over to Strong. So
maybe he's like one of the most hated guys in wrestling. So
yeah, I hear like wrestlers don't really like working with him, and a little too stiff in the ring sometimes. So
it's like you got to take care of the people you work with,
right? So yeah. So we'll see if he gets anywhere outside of MLW big. But, yeah, this should be a fun matchup here for recommended match of the week.
Awesome. Looking forward to it.
And that's going to wrap things up for us here at Keeping It Strong Style this week. Next week, we'll be back to review more of the Kizuna Road and cover all the latest news happening in New Japan. If you enjoyed today's show, please consider making a donation by visiting socialsuplex.com/donate and click on the donate button under the Keeping It Strong Style logo. Make sure you connect with us on social media. On Twitter, the show is at KI Strong Style. The network is at Social Suplex. You can follow me at Jeremy L. Donovan. On Facebook, we are facebook.com/socialsuplex. In the Wrestling Squared Circle, we are facebook.com/group/Wrestling Squared Circle. On Instagram, we're at Social Suplex. On Reddit, you can follow me, the Pro Black Guy, just Keeping It Strong Style. Email me, jeremy@socialsuplex.com. You can check out our Discord server. The link for that will be in the description for the show. Check out all the other shows that we have here on the Social Suplex Podcast Network. We have One Nation Radio, hosted by Rich Latta and James Boyd. We have Grave Consequences with Caleb Maserati. The 8-Bit Suplex with Josh number 2. All Things Elite with Floyd and Austin. And the Great Match Generator with Danny. Don't forget to subscribe and leave a rating and review. And we will catch you next week on Keeping It Strong Style, the ace of podcasts.
Ichiban.
Thank you for listening to Keepin' It Strong Style. We'll see you next time.
At Zenni, you get the same quality frame and lens options that you'd get from an optician for 1/10 of the price, including blue blockers, progressives, prescription sunglasses, and more. The best part? Try on any frame, anywhere with our 3D virtual try-on. Zenni.com. Eyewear for everyone.
Maddie's believes nature is beautiful, majestic, serene. But human nature is inventive, intrepid, reckless. Nature says, look how many colors I can fit in a sunset. Human nature says, look how many hot wings I can fit in my mouth. But human nature needs nature. That's why there's Maddie's All-Natural Acid and Indigestion Relief, a drug-free remedy for human nature, available at Walmart, CVS, Walgreens, and Amazon. These statements have not been evaluated by the Food and Drug Administration. This product is not intended to diagnose, treat, cure, or prevent any disease.